now. Happy Monday afternoon. Welcome back from the weekend and welcome to 580 Sports Talk. Brendan Dworzinski, Spencer Dupuis, our summer intern Trenton Kraxner, all here with you today. Dan Lucero, who normally sits to my left. Well, actually, normally he sits across from me. You sit over to my left. But with Dan not here, Spencer's moved into the lieutenant's chair there. And Dan's still on paternity leave. He'll be back next week, returning from some time with the growing family at home. So still thinking about Dan and Abby and the Lucero family. Everything going super well at home, which is great to hear. And we'll see Dan coming up next week. We've got a busy, very busy edition of 580 Sports Talk to get to. Here, just in this first hour, we'll recap Royals weekend in Los Angeles. Brady Singer yesterday, just a total encapsulation of the struggles he has had at certain moments this year. The good and the bad that come with a Brady Singer start. We'll get to that. Royals take just one of the three games in LA, although if anyone lost anything this weekend, it was the World Series contending Dodgers, who lost Yamamoto for an indefinite period of time and lost Mookie Betts for a long time, too, with the injury to his hand on a hit by pitch. So we'll get to the Royals weekend here in a moment. Also, a report out of Chicago that the Royals are interested in a White Sox player who is believed to be on the trade block. So that's coming up later this hour. Plus, we have a special treat for you. Coming up bottom of this hour, two Topeka legends will both be joining us on the air. Michael Wilhoite, the current outside linebackers coach for the Denver Broncos, Washburn alum, Highland Park alum, 7-year NFL vet, plus former Missouri Valley Conference Player of the Year, Topeka native, another Highland Park grad, 13-year international pro basketball vet Kyle Weems. They will both be joining us. The Big Kev Giveback camp is coming up on Friday this week, and the guys are going to join us to preview the camp and talk some Topeka sports as well. That's coming up at the bottom of this hour. Matt Verderame is going to join us a little bit later on in the show today to go around the NFL like we do on every Monday afternoon here on 580 Sports Talk. The rosters are done for KU and K-State basketball. And in the 4 o'clock hour, we will take a look at what the starting lineups and rotations will look like for these two teams. Which newcomers are you the most excited for? And what are realistic expectations for each team coming up in the 24-25 season? We'll get to that in the 4 o'clock hour. We've got what is wrong with you. We've got maybe some burgeoning news from the State House about stadium plans in the state of Kansas. If Kansas wants to lure the Chiefs and Royals across the state line. We'll get to our 580 Sports Talk headlines. We'll recap the weekend with the good, the bad, and the ugly, and so much more coming up here on 580 Sports Talk today. You can reach out to us on the Top City Metal Supply text line, 785-272-9429. You can also, of course, find us on YouTube. 580 Sports Talk is the name of our YouTube channel. Go subscribe if you haven't already. You can watch along with the show there, and you can leave us a comment as well. And of course, as always, we are coming to you live from the Kansas Drive to Zero studio on this Monday afternoon. Before we get to the Royals, you guys may remember that I told the wonderful folks on the other side of these microphones and these radios that if we could get to 580 subscribers on our YouTube channel, 580 of them, we were going to do something fun today. We're going to give away a pair of tickets to the Diamond Club for the Kansas City Royals. And in my possession, we have a pair of Royals tickets to the Diamond Club. They are for a day game coming up next week. They will be for, and I got to make sure I have the date 100% right here. I don't want to lead you guys in the wrong direction. They will be for the June 26th. Well, now I got to go double check the date. We're giving them away for the Marlins series. Thought I had them the 24th, might be the 26th. I will double check on that for you. We have a pair of tickets to the Royals Diamond Club at Kauffman Stadium that we will be giving away. Okay?
If you said day game, it would be the 26th.
It would be the 26th, yeah. So
1:10 p.m. first pitch.
I'm going to go double check that here in just a moment once we get started on the Royals because they're in the office, and I want to make sure I'm giving you the right prize. So we have a pair of seats to the Diamond Club. They come with a parking pass and $20 in concessions loaded on there. If you've never been to the Diamond Club, they've got folks who come to your seat. They've got menus. You can order special food there. It is awesome. And you're right behind the plate. Great positioning to watch a game. They are absolutely phenomenal seats. We've got a pair of tickets to give away. These are special tickets, okay? The Diamond Club, best seats in the house. So we are going to have a few different ways for you to enter our giveaway today. In this hour, when you hear me call for it, call in 785-272-9429, and we will take a handful, 5 in fact, 5 specific callers this hour who will be entered into the hopper. They will be entered into the drawing to win those Diamond Club tickets. In the 3 o'clock hour of the show, we're going to take 5 specific texters to the Top City Metal Supply text line, 785-272-9429. Those 5 will be entered into the drawing. And then in the 4 o'clock hour, we will take 5 specific YouTube commenters as well who will be entered into the drawing to win that pair of tickets to the Diamond Club at Kauffman Stadium. So here's what you need to do. Be listening throughout the day for the signal, hey, we need you to call or text or comment. And then B, caller whatever, or texter whatever, or YouTube commenter whatever, and you will be entered to win that pair of tickets to Royals versus Marlins and a seat in the Diamond Club.
I have a question.
Spencer, please.
Can you be a multi-entrant?
No, and I'm so glad you asked that. You get one, and I'm going to tell you this text line specifically because I love you guys. But the text line works like caller ID. I see your phone number. I see your name if you send it to me. If I say I need 3 texters and you text me 3 times, that is 1 entry. That is not all 3 entries. Okay? This is a one-shot deal. I want as many people to have a chance at this as possible. And I'm pointing out my text line, folks, specifically because I've seen you do it before. You cannot fool me. I am familiar with your game. Okay? You get 1 entry. We're trying to get as many as we can here. 15 total entries, 5 this hour, 5 next hour, 5 in the 4 o'clock hour. We will announce our winner at the top of the 5 o'clock hour here today on 580 Sports Talk. Very excited to give away a pair of seats to the Diamond Club coming up here in just a minute. And yes, we have a question from Vance on YouTube. Can YouTube commenters call in? Hell yeah, you can. Well, call, text. There are going to be all sorts of different ways to get in as long as you can listen to me and to Spencer and to Trenton talk about this on the air today. As soon as you hear this is the time to call or to text or to comment, boom, you are ready to go. And I would advise for that 4 o'clock hour, be subscribed to the YouTube and have the stream open so you know when it is time to comment. You can type in your name or whatever we're going to ask you for coming up in the 4 o'clock hour.
My
so
question, though, was can I be a caller, a texter, and a YouTube commenter?
No. 1 entry.
There you go.
1 entry. But if we say we need caller number 3 and you're caller number 2 and you're not in, then sure. Text in later.
Yeah.
YouTube comment in later. Call again. Call back in. But no, 1 entrant, 1 entry per person. Those are the rules. They're very simple to follow. I trust that you'll be able to do it. I can't wait to give away these tickets. Of course, all of our Royals ticket giveaways are from the DM Injury Law ticket window. Been in a car wreck? Reach out to DM Injury Law for help getting the money that you deserve. Remember, car wreck? Mike's got this. Royals weekend, not the Diamond Club seats we're giving away, but this weekend against the Dodgers, I mean, it's kind of what we asked for, right? They had a really good showing, including the MJ Melendez Grand Slam and a good start from Seth Lugo on Saturday. Friday, tough. Yesterday, Brady Singer, man. I don't think Brady was bad. He has got to miss more bats. That is one thing with Brady Singer. He has got to strike out more batters. That is something you have got to get out of Brady Singer. But all in all, even though he only struck out 4 dudes in 6 innings, only threw 90 pitches, he was fairly efficient. He didn't give up a ton of hits. It wasn't bad for the majority of his body of work, but he gave up 3 solo home runs.
Yeah, but they were against 2 of them came from one of the best hitters in the whole major leagues.
That is true.
And Freddie Freeman hit another one who's a great hitter as well.
That is true. And I want to build on that too, because the Royals also did not score a run yesterday. They had 3 hits. Tyler Glasnow is really good. He is having a great year. Struck out another 9 batters yesterday. He has been really good. And I think you could make the same argument that, yeah, I mean, it was a bad offensive day, but Tyler Glasnow is really good. It happens against good pitchers sometimes. I am now of the belief, Spencer, this Royals team is in a competitive contending window to make the playoffs for this season, for the 2024 campaign. They are well over 500. They are hoping to make a push to win the division even, to make it to the postseason this year. They want to be in that category of team. And if you want to be in that category of team, I don't think you can just hand wave and say, yeah, well, it was Shohei Ohtani. What are you going to do? Oh, it's Freddie Freeman. What you going to do? Oh, Tyler Glasnow has been great this year. I think you need to expect a little bit more. Otherwise, I think you're feeling a little too much like the old Royals when you should be feeling like a team that's in a contending window right now. Because you're right. It's different when it's Ohtani. Yeah. But by the same token, what if you hadn't thrown those? I mean, if you're going to score 0 runs, you're never going to win. That is impossible to do. That is its own problem. But, Brady Singer said it after the game. I was trying to get him to, I was trying to bury the slider a little bit. I left it too far up. Well, then bury it. Like that's the stage we're at with this Royals team right now, especially Brady Singer, who is now in his 5th season in the major leagues. Guys make bad pitches. I understand it. You made 3 really bad pitches, 3 solo home runs, and they're good hitters. You got to be extra careful with those guys to not leave up a slider, because if you leave a hanging slider, if you were to name any player in baseball who's going to hit that ball a mile, I'd probably pick 2 guys. I'd pick Aaron Judge, and I'd pick Shohei Ohtani as the guys who are going to make it for that. So that's tough. That I would call yesterday a tough outing for Singer rather than a bad one, because there was a lot of good, a lot of productive anyway. It just clearly wasn't good enough. So that's frustrating. But otherwise, I feel like, at least for me, is kind of the weekend I was expecting against the Dodgers.
Yeah, I was anticipating maybe a little bit more I said on Friday, two wins would be huge for them because of the 2 guys they had on the mound. And on Friday night and Saturday night, that's what I was talking about. I said if they had an opportunity to do so, it would be both Friday and Saturday. And it just didn't work out on Friday. They couldn't make the comeback, and it's something that's frustrating, but it's a team that the Royals are obviously now coming out of the toughest stretch of the season for them. And if you look at it that way, they're facing the Oakland A's. As long as they can get hits and get runs, then they don't have to worry about Mason Miller when it comes to the Athletics this week. But you're looking at what you've done last week and the week prior. Yeah, it's a tough week for you. That's going to happen. It's baseball.
Bullpens are going to be a major factor in this next series.
Oh, yes.
Because you're exactly right. You don't want to be in a situation where Mason Miller can take you out of a game. You got to be up multiple runs going into the 8th and 9th inning, because then on the flip side, your bullpen's got to keep that lead so Mason Miller does not become a factor by the end of the game.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's
you
going
don't
to be...
want him pitching at all in these 3 games.
No, you would love for Mason Miller to just get to get the week off.
Yeah.
Nah. That's fine. Although plenty of Royals fans who admittedly I think are barking up the wrong tree here would love to see Mason Miller and say, that's the guy we're going to go get. That's the guy Trenton's nodding his head right now. Yes, I want to see that guy out there so I know what I'm getting.
Who are you sending though?
Yeah, I don't think Gavin Cross is quite enough.
They don't think they have enough.
I don't know if the A's are dying to go add Frank Mazzucato right now. I'm not sure the Royals have enough firepower to go out and get him. I will say, cool moment for MJ Melendez on Saturday. That was nice. Good to see.
Moment for him.
It's just, we don't need to hammer home the MJ Melendez stuff anymore. We know how bad of a season it has been for MJ this year. Recently, if you wanted to point to anyone who had a good weekend against the Dodgers, you probably point to MJ, right?
Yeah.
What was that? 4 for 9 for the weekend overall?
Yeah, he was 6 for 76 on the road going into that series. He was 4 for 10 against the Dodgers. So almost his whole season hits on the road doubled in that one series. So he raised his average from like 157. He's in the 170s again now as well.
Yeah. 158 entering the weekend to now 171. So that's all right. Yeah, maybe that's the start of something. I'm kind of beyond saying that's the start of something for MJ Melendez this year. I was all in on that. You remember from the first month of the season, I was thinking, hey, look, I've been hard on MJ pretty much his entire career, but he's hitting it really hard right now. He's getting on base. He's being productive. And then came back to bite me in the ass because he's been butt ever since then for the most part. So I am, now in year 3 of this experiment, I'm done with sort of expecting that it's going to come or thinking, oh, this is going to be the change. This is going to be the moment. This is when it's all going to be fixed. I don't think it's going to happen at this point, but I'm glad he got to have that moment. And I'm glad the Royals got insurance in a pretty fun way with that grand slam on Saturday. Anything else really stand out? The other thing that stood out is a local kid, not a kid anymore. He's in his 30s. Blake Trinan, Osage City's own Blake Trinan. Man, if you've got Blake Trinan in 2024 throwing 39 pitches in an outing, it ain't going to go well. I'm just going to tell you that right now. That is not going to end very well for you. But, yeah, Blake, kind of a disaster performance for him on Saturday. Other than that, though, it's kind of what I expected. Anything else really unique about this weekend? Anything that really caught your eye?
The only thing that caught my eye was if you go back to Friday, they were leading 3-0 on a 3-run shot from Salvador Perez, and then Reagan just gave up 3 in the 5th, and then another run came with Will Smith, and their offense just fell asleep.
Yeah, you need to have more than that. Yeah,
it's tough.
No, I'm right there with you. You've got to have more production. And look, the Dodgers are good. They've got good arms. They've got a great offense. Obviously, we all know that, but you've just got to get more out of these guys, generally speaking. So you're now through what will probably be, and I haven't looked in depth at the entire second half schedule yet, but you are through what will probably be the most difficult stretch of your schedule this year. 7 in a row against the Yankees and Dodgers. You took 2 of the 5. Like, Trenton, are you, because you had given us a number on Friday when we wrapped up the show, like, does that feel like essentially what you were hoping for? Maybe not hoping for, but expecting out of this last week of games?
The Royals just played 2 super teams almost, you could say, and they held their own, really. I mean, they got mollywopped 2 out of the 4 games against the Yankees, but who hasn't?
Yeah, everybody has.
And then they played 2 competitive games, and then they played 27 innings against the Dodgers, and they were in it all 27 innings, which is awesome to see. I think Friday's loss upsets me more than yesterday because you had Rayons on the bump, and Chris Taylor was hitting 100, hit the game-tying home run in the 5th. That was the one that you really wanted. But, yeah, I mean, you didn't fall apart through the gauntlet because I was looking at them. The Royals are 6-9 in the month of June right now.
Mm-hmm.
And then that 20-game stretch they just completed against teams in the playoffs right now, they went 7-13. Not great, but you competed, gave a couple away.
Yeah.
And then they just finished a 12-game stretch against teams that are winning their division, and they went 5-7. So I think there's nothing to be upset because 41 out of their next 54 games are against teams that are currently under 500, which includes 6 with the White Sox, who have by far the worst record in baseball, 3 with the Marlins next week, who have the one of the 2 worst records in the National League, 3 with the Rockies, who are the other worst team in the National League, and then 3 with the A's starting this week, the second worst team in the American League. So you can really feast now that you're 9 games above over this next third of the season, basically stretch of games.
I think their next toughest stretch, while not tough the whole time, I think it starts August 23rd against the Phillies. Then you have 4 against the Guardians, and then you have 4 against Houston, who by that time, they're only 6 games under 500. You don't know where they could be. Then you have Cleveland again for 3, Minnesota for 3, and the Yankees for 3.
All right, yeah, that's pretty tough. That stretch
the 23rd of August and the 11th of September. That's a tough stretch.
Yeah, I would say even if you shorten it from September 2nd through September 11th, just going Guardians, Twins, Yankees for 9 straight, you get 6 of them at home, which is a positive.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's until then, that is your, you're through your toughest week to week and a half stretch of the schedule. So hopefully you can use this day off, build a little momentum, get a little rest, and then really hit the ground running in these next, whatever it would be, next 4 weeks or so before you get to the All-Star break. Speaking of that Marlins series, before we get to some Royals possible trade news or trade rumors on the other side of this commercial break, we're going to take 2 callers. Now, you will be entered. You are not winning necessarily, but you will be entered in to win a pair of seats to the Diamond Club at Kauffman Stadium for Wednesday, June 26th. That is a 1:10 first pitch against the Miami Marlins, getaway day against the Marlins. That is next Wednesday, pair of Diamond Club tickets. We need caller number 2 and caller number 10 during this commercial break. We're back right after this with more Royals talk on 580 Sports Talk, live from the Kansas Drive to Zero studio. Back at the Kansas Drive to Zero studio, Brendan, Spencer, and Trenton here with you today. Dan is off on paternity leave. We have our first two entrants into the drawing for a pair of Diamond Club seats at the K next Wednesday. Corbin and Lynn have their names in. We'll take another trio of callers before the hour is done. We'll have another chance to call in here in just a moment to enter into the drawing. Again, we'll have 15 total entrants throughout the day, and then right around 5 o'clock, we will pick the winner. It'll be a random drawing. We're not going to pick favorites or anything. It'll be a random drawing from the 15 who enter, and we will give away those Diamond Club seats coming up at the end of the show today. Appreciation for you guys continuing to support us every single day, but continuing to support us and our growing YouTube channel as well. Go subscribe. There will be a chance in the 4 o'clock hour to comment on the YouTube stream, and that'll be a form of entry. So if you haven't subscribed already, now would be a great time to go do so and be ready in the 4 o'clock hour for those chances to comment in. Real quick, regarding the Royals, we've got a really fun interview coming up in a moment, but this is from Bruce Levine, who has covered baseball in Chicago, both the Cubs and White Sox, I think since the fall of Troy. He has been around for an eternity. And if you've ever followed him on Twitter, you know that he has absolutely no grasp on spelling at all. However, he posted this earlier this weekend. With the trade deadline looming on July 30th, MLB scouts are busy evaluating the form of potential acquisitions for the respective teams. Dude, you've been a journalist for a million years. You can just get to it. One of those drawing a good deal of interest is White Sox reliever Michael Kopech, as many clubs have sent scouts to watch him in recent weeks. The Yankees, Royals, and Phillies are just a few of the teams that have been doing their due diligence. The 28-year-old was moved to the bullpen in March after spending the last 2 seasons in the rotation. He continues to boast a 100-mile-an-hour fastball. This season, going into the weekend, his ERA was .491 with a 1.5 whip across 29 innings. He had struck out 43 batters in 29 1/3. Those are good K numbers. Here's the good with Michael Kopech. He throws hard. He is 99th percentile in Major League Baseball this year in fastball velocity, and he misses a ton of bats, which is something the Royals could really use in their bullpen. Here's the bad. He walks a ton of dudes. He gives up a bunch of home runs, and he gives up a lot of hard contact in general. That is worrisome, I would say, for the Royals, whose bullpen already has a bit of an issue giving up hard contact and giving up home runs. And walking guys hasn't been an unbearable problem, but you don't necessarily want to add that. So you're taking a risk. What do you have to give up to get him? If you get in a bidding war with the Yankees and Phillies, the best team in the American League and the best team in the National League,
you probably can't.
You're probably not going to win. Exactly. Yeah. I'm open to looking into it because the fastball is super valuable. And if you trust your pitching stat, your lab, your pitching development, maybe you think you can get something out of him. The hard contact worries me, though, especially given, James MacArthur.
Yeah.
What we've seen out of this bullpen this year. But I do think it is significant for him to say, yeah, lots of teams, including these three, they're not the only three, but the fact that the Royals are in there with both the Yankees and the Phillies, that tells me something. That says to me, this is real. Like, this is legit interest. So that, I think, is significant to note regarding White Sox reliever Michael Kopech. Coming up after the next commercial break, we're going to talk to two Topeka legends, Michael Wilhoite and Kyle Weems, current Broncos outside linebackers coach and current international basketball star, Michael Wilhoite, Kyle Weems, respectively. We'll talk about the Big Kev Giveback camp. First, though, we need caller 3. You will be entered into our Royals Diamond Club ticket giveaway, 785-272-9429. Caller number 3, you will be entered into the contest. We'll talk to Mike and Kyle next on 580 Sports Talk. Congratulations to Deb. She was the caller number 3 last segment, and she is now entered into the Royals Diamond Club ticket giveaway. We'll have a chance to enter again before the hour is out. Right now, though, we've got an extra special treat for us today. Joining us via the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline, a pair of Topeka sports legends. Michael Wilhoite, the 7-year NFL vet, Washburn alum, current outside linebackers coach of the Denver Broncos, and Kyle Weems, another Highland Park grad, the former Missouri Valley Conference Player of the Year, 13-year international pro basketball veteran. Both guys joining us on our phone line right now as we get ready for this Friday and the Big Kev Giveback Camp. Guys, thank you both so much for joining us today. We'll go around the horn here. Mike, we'll start with you. Thanks so much for the time, and just how pumped up are you for this weekend?
ELC and ELC freight-free coolants.
Minor technical difficulty here. We'll get this figured out in a second. We'll get this checked out here.
Yeah, we'll get it checked out here, but the Big Kev Giveback Camp, obviously the camp that both of the two men that Brendan talked about, in Michael Wilhoite and Kevin Weems, they host down at Washburn University coming this Friday, the 21st. You can go to bkgiveback.com to see some more information individually as we work to get them on the air. And should be a good camp as always, but two legends here from the Topeka area are now.
I think we are good to go. So again, Mike, we'll start with you. Thanks so much for the time, and just how pumped up are you for Friday?
Man, can't tell you how excited I am. Just excited that something so small as you guys allowing us to come on the air and talk about it and promote it and try to get as many people as we can to the camp. So we're excited about every part of the process, and we're excited about all the kids being there and us bringing the energy and showing these kids a way to be better human beings and better athletes.
And the same thing for you, Kyle, because I know for both of you, so much goes into putting this together every single year. Just how excited are you for it to finally be here and to finally see all this hard work come together?
I'm super excited. It really came up fast. One thing that Mike and I have tried our best, obviously with our busy schedules, especially with his busy schedule in the NFL, but one thing we've always wanted to do, and we said if we're gonna do this, we're gonna do it right, and try and make this thing bigger and better each and every year. And I felt we've done that in the first two, so we're really looking forward to our third annual camp coming up at the end of the week.
I know earlier on this spring, Kyle, Michael was telling us all about just how excited he was for obviously all the kids and just the experience for all of them, but for all the coaches who are going to be there too, and all the adults and all the support you guys are going to have putting this on. Tell us a little bit about the cast of characters you guys are going to have there who are putting on this great event.
Oh, well, first of all, it's just a blessing being able to have the people that are there. We'll have a bunch of family, a bunch of friends, a bunch of people that help groom us into the men that we are today. So the fact that they'll be there supporting us in honor of my father is something that, we can never, pay them back. But, I'm excited. One thing that I also told Mike is our first year when we had the camp, I felt like it wasn't, enough of the people that kind of showed us the way. I'm talking about, guys that I involved, last year on my end of the basketball side of things, guys like Tony Barksdale, Jamel Anderson, guys that are there in the community each and every day and have been there for over 20 years. And I think it's important for those guys, to be a part of this and enjoy, the steps of it and seeing kids with a smile on our face, just like me and Mike get to do, because they're actually there each and every day, not just for one day. So, it's guys like Mike Williams and Nate Wallace and James Williams, guys that used to play back in Highland Park that paved the way for guys like me. So, to be able to kind of just say thank you and give them their flowers and let them be a part of something positive, it means a lot, and it's really special.
And for you, Mike, we talked about this a few weeks back, but how have you seen this camp continue to grow over time, going into year 3 of it, from when is just an idea for the two of you guys to put this together to where it is now? Where have you seen the most growth with this event and with the entire, BK Giveback organization you guys have built?
I think people that are willing to jump in and help in any way possible, people that are willing to bring food, people that are willing to bring drinks, people that are willing to help get people signed up. I think that's the biggest part is we say, hey, Kyle's overseas. Hey, I'm at work and I'm in a totally different state. How can you help? Who can, and everybody's raising their hands saying, I can do this, I can do that. And I think that's the biggest part. And that's the whole point of the camp is the community serving the community giving back to the community. So I think that's the biggest way we've seen it grow, and that's the way we want to see it grow.
Joining us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline, a pair of Topeka sports legends, Michael Wilhoite, the current outside linebackers coach of the Denver Broncos, Washburn great, Kyle Weems as well, the 2011 Missouri Valley Conference Player of the Year, 13-year international basketball veteran as well, a pair of Highland Park grads, joining us today as we get ready for the Big Kev Giveback camp coming up on Friday this week. So, Mike, what about the day itself are you the most excited about getting to do with the campers and with the community? Is there any specific event you guys are doing? Any, specific thing, any way you get involved that you are the most excited about for Friday?
No, I think simply just being there with the kids, being there with the coaches. A lot of these coaches are people that we played with, people that helped raise us, people that taught us a lot about what we're going to show these kids. And I think just being with those people, Kerry Williams, a person that played in the NFL 10 years and was a key instrument in teaching me how to play the game. Fletcher Terrell, who played in the NFL, who was again another guy who taught me how to play the game. Carlos Kelly, who was former Topeka High head coach and somebody who took me on recruiting visits, and then you bring in all the kids and you put all that together, and just the fact that I got two NFL coaches going to be there. I got a guy from Denver Broncos who's also going to be there. So just bringing all of that together for our city, like people that are saying, hey, I'm willing to come help show these kids and help these kids be better people and then better athletes as well. That's all we can ask for, and that's what we're here for. And that's what we're looking forward to, and that's the one thing you can't thank people enough for, taking their time, and the one thing you can't replace is time. So just thankful for that part.
I actually got to see Carlos Kelly earlier today, just out in public, and I know he's jacked up just like we all are for this weekend. And Kyle, I wanted to ask you, because we heard Mike just now talk about, getting to do this for this city, for your city, for our city. You have gotten to travel all over the world playing basketball and have found all sorts of success and have gotten to see so many people, so many places, have had so many experiences. What makes it so special about getting to come back to Topeka, where you are from, where you made a name for yourself, before anywhere else? How special is it for you to get to give back to this community in particular?
Well, I think I think one thing that my parents always instilled in me is, it's always about where you're from. Like, don't ever forget where you came from. And I'm proud to be from Topeka. Proud to be from Topeka, Kansas. I still have a lot of family and friends there, and I'm so blessed to have those people all along the way. And I have a lot of support from Topeka, and I don't think that Topeka has forgot about me. So any chance that I can, kind of shout from the rooftops and let people know where I'm from, it's definitely something that I take a lot of pride in. But I think the most important thing to go along, even with what Mike said, like one thing that I can say this about Mike as well, one thing we take pride in is just, we want to show these kids what is possible. Anything is possible when you put your mind to it. And like Mike said, the best way to show these kids that it's possible is someone like Mike or myself, or like you said, Kerry Williams, or some of these other guys that have been very successful at a high level, whether as professional or college, seeing them and actually spending that time. There's no better way to success, in my opinion. So just super excited and to be able to be in front of these kids and show them that anything is possible.
Do you guys have a favorite memory or moment, and Kyle, I'll start with you here, of hearing from someone who has been to the camp in the last 2 years, whether it's a family as a whole or it's one individual camper who you've gotten to hear from after the fact and how it got to positively impact them? Do you have any, especially important memories like that?
I think just seeing some of the guys that we went to high school with, and even me, middle school, elementary school, seeing them bring their kids. There was one girl that went to Highland Park that I went to Highland Park with. She was a few years older than me. She now has a 14-year-old son. And just getting to meet him, he spent, I think, both sessions with Mike, so I didn't get to, see and spend a bunch of time with him throughout the camp. But I got to, speak with him afterwards, and just hearing how he wrote a children's story, and, the things that he's doing, and he's able to sell it at Hy-Vee. I mean, these are the stories that you want to try and build, and that you love to hear. So, there's just a few, but I mean, there's a bunch of them. And I think those are the memories and the things that Mike and I are trying to build going forward.
And the same question for you, Mike. Is there anything in particular from the last 2 years that you remember that, maybe it was a moment where you and Kyle or your coaches were able to really make an impact on a young man or woman's life? Is there anything like that from the last 2 years that really sticks out in your mind?
No, I'll be honest with you. I think more so than anything, when we're there so far, we're just seeing, is this working? Is this not working? What do we need to be more prepared for? What things can we do better going forward? We're not so much thinking this impact this person. I think for the whole thing, we're impacting a lot of people, from kids to grown-ups. I mean, just like he said, we just have more and more people every year saying, let me help with this. Let me do this. Let me take this part over. And that's what we're looking for, is a community all volunteering, all raising their hand. And that's what we're getting. In terms of the kids, I think, whether we're impacting a kid for a long term or we're impacting a kid for that moment, we're impacting the kids. And that's what we're here for. That's what we want to bring the community together and impact everybody. And I think we're doing that some way, shape, or form. And that's all we can look for.
We're joined by Michael Wilhoite and Kyle Weems, a pair of Topeka sports legends, Topeka natives, who are putting on the Big Kev Giveback Camp going on this Friday, June 21st at Washburn. And Mike, I wanted to ask you specifically about Washburn's involvement in this. And I know so much of this community has come together to help you guys put this on and to make this such a special event. But for someone who went to Washburn, obviously such an important part of Washburn sports history, how big of a deal is it to get to do that in conjunction with Washburn University?
It's phenomenal. I think more so just back to when Washburn didn't have an indoor facility. When I was practicing there on the practice fields, and it was grass and it was mud, and we're out there in 107-degree heat, to now we get the option of, here, we can go inside, we can use the rec center, we can use Lee Arena. We have a lot of options, and valuable options at that. So just very thankful that Washburn has lended a hand, that Coach Sherrick has been so easy to contact and done such a good job of communicate with me. Josh Osborne, communicating with Kyle and I, and making sure that we have everything we need. So we're just thankful that we have the opportunity to be there, to use the facilities, and then the people that are willing to raise their hand again and once again and say, hey, I'll help out, and I'll reach out to this person and make sure that you have what you need. So we're just thankful and grateful for the opportunity, and know that we don't take it for granted.
Kyle, obviously, huge day coming up on Friday with the camp itself, so a few days to get ready for it. If people want to know a little bit more about what you guys are doing, where can they go for a little more information?
Yeah, there's still time to sign up, so don't hesitate to ask. We don't want to turn any kids away, so please, don't hesitate to ask. But you can go to www.bkgiveback.com. You can sign up there. It will lead you towards the Washburn football campsite. We should be listed near the bottom of that website. So sign up there. It's just $20. None of this will be coming back to Mike or myself, pretty much just for the T-shirts. Lunch will be provided. We're going to be doing a question and answer session, during the lunch period with some of the coaches. So, just come out, have a good time. It's not too late to sign up, and we want to keep making this thing get bigger and bigger each and every year. And that's our goal for this Friday.
And again, that is bkgiveback.com. Really quickly, guys, before we let you go, you guys know Jake Laban, the former sports director here at WIBW 580, very, very well. Mike, I know you played with Jake. He's not here to defend himself. So if you guys have any stories you want to share, maybe he wasn't as big of a tough guy as he wanted to make it seem, this is a great opportunity to let us know.
I wish I could, man. Jake Laban is one of those people, along with all those people we're talking about. I mean, that was a guy that every morning for morning runs, I look forward to competing with Jake. I look forward to pushing Jake, and I look forward to Jake pushing me. A lot of the things I perfected technique-wise was based on Jake and me working with Jake, and Jake always having the discipline to say, I'll work with you. So, man, I wish we could kill Jake, but I owe so much to Jake, and I'm thankful to Jake, man. Jake,
I agree.
Another one of my big brothers.
Well, he is such a great dude. And I know he is super excited the last 2 years. I know how pumped up he has been for this, guys, and we are as well. Again, if you want any more information about the Big Kev Giveback Camp, there are still sign-up spots available. Head right now to bkgiveback.com. Previewing this incredible event coming up on Friday, Michael Wilhoite, Washburn great, Denver Broncos outside linebackers coach, 7-year NFL vet, and Kyle Weems, 2 Highland Park grads. Kyle, the 2011 Missouri Valley Conference Player of the Year, 13-year international pro basketball vet. Guys, we can't thank you enough for the time. Really, really looking forward to this Friday. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Brendan. And just want to say, man, we appreciate you, and we don't take this time for granted. We know that you guys take time out of your day and out of what you guys are doing just to give us a spotlight, and we can't thank you enough for it. And we just appreciate you always making sure you can get us on.
Absolutely.
For sure. Thanks so much, guys.
Absolutely, guys. Thank you so much. Those are a pair of Topeka legends, Michael Wilhoite and Kyle Weems, joining us here as we get ready for the Big Kev Giveback Camp coming up this weekend. That is, again, on Friday this week. bkgiveback.com. That is where to go to get even more information about this incredible event that Michael and Kyle are putting on. We really appreciate the guys hopping on with us here. And again, there is still time to sign up. They do not want to turn anyone away. As you just heard them say, $20 to sign up. It's not going back to the guys. It is all going into the camp, into the event to make this as special as possible for as many people as possible. And we really thank the guys for coming on with us to talk about it today. That will bring us to the end of this first hour of 580 Sports Talk. In the 3 o'clock hour of the show today, we'll go around the NFL, some headlines from the weekend. Matt Verderame is going to join us to talk NFL football as well. Plus, we will recap the weekend, a busy one for all of us, a Father's Day weekend in the good, the bad, and the ugly. We also need to get 2 more people into the hopper, 2 more entries into our Diamond Club ticket giveaway. If you missed it at the top of this hour, we are going to have 15 entrants into a drawing to win a pair of Diamond Club seats at next Wednesday's Royals game. It's a 1:10 first pitch, Royals versus Marlins, final game of that series. 2 seats in the Diamond Club. Best seats in the house. We've already got 3 entrants. Our final 2 call-in entrants. We need caller number 4 and we need caller number 9. Caller 4 and caller 9 to 785-272-9429. You'll be entered into the giveaway. We'll find our next entries next. Plus, we'll get to the news break and we'll talk NFL coming up after the break on 580 Sports Talk from the Kansas Drive to Zero studio. the 3 o'clock hour of 580 Sports Talk, live from the Kansas Drive to Zero studio. I'm Brendan Dworzinski. Across the table from me is Spencer Dupuis. We have an empty chair in here, too. Dan Lucero's not here. He's on paternity leave. Our summer intern, Trenton Kraxner, is on the other side of the glass. Once again, a massive shout-out to the fine folks that joined us last hour. Michael Wilhoite and Kyle Weems, two, I kept saying it, absolute legends in this city. Especially in the sports sphere and what they are doing for Topeka kids and this community with the Big Kev Giveback camp. It is just absolutely awesome. bkgiveback.com. That's where you can get more information. And again, you can go and still sign up. They do not want anyone turned away. It's $20 to participate in the camp. You get a t-shirt. You get to spend a whole day with active NFL coaches, active professional athletes, other folks who have made a really big, major impact on this community as well. That's over at bkgiveback.com. And just really appreciate the guys for joining us last hour. We'll talk to Matt Verderame coming up this hour on the show, talking all things NFL. We'll also go around the NFL ourselves here in just a few moments. And we're also going to recap the weekend with the good, the bad, and the ugly. Hope you all had a nice Father's Day, you dads out there, including the newest dad on our team, Dan Lucerne. Well, the only dad on our team, but yeah, also the newest.
The only dad.
The only one so far, yeah. We'll recap Father's Day's weekend with the good, the bad, and the ugly. We want you to be a part of the show. Top City Metal Supply text line is 785-272-9429. From construction sites to renovations, from the farm to the garage, Top City Metal Supply understands the value of precision and cost efficiency. No more wasted materials, no more wasted money, just metal cut to the exact size you need. Top City Metal Supply is located on South Topeka Boulevard, just north of Forbes Field here in the capital city. Also, YouTube, 580 Sports Talk's the name of our YouTube channel. Thank you to everyone who has subscribed, checked it out, watched the show, left a comment in the last few days. We challenged y'all to get us to 580 subscribers by the end of the show on Friday. You did that. So today, we are giving away a pair of Diamond Club seats to next Wednesday, 9 days from now. That is June 26th, 1:10 first pitch. So it's an afternoon game, Royals versus Marlins. We're giving away a pair. Our two most recent entrants into the contest, they were callers 4 and 9 last hour, Larry and Tyler. They both were able to enter this past hour. Those were our phone entries, okay? We did phone entries in hour 1. This hour, we're doing text line entries. So get those texting fingers ready. 785-272-9429. You are going to hear coming up, we'll say at the end of this segment. Let's say at the end of this segment going into the commercial break, we're going to tell you what you need to text in. We're going to take 5, okay? We'll tell you at the end of this segment, but it's not going to start until we go to the commercial break. So don't jam our text line quite well. Send us text anytime you want. But entrance for the giveaway will not begin until our commercial break begins. So that's coming up here in just about 15 minutes or so. So be ready. The Top City Metal Supply text line number is 785-272-9429. We'll pick our winner. We'll announce our winner coming up right at the top of the 5 o'clock hour. All right, let's go around the NFL here today. Some notes from the weekend. Biggest note from the weekend, and it was made official today. T. Higgins is going to sign his franchise tender. In fact, he has officially signed his franchise tender now. He is going to play this season with the Cincinnati Bengals, skipped OTAs, skipped mandatory minicamp, never got his new contract. We talked about this a little bit at the end of last week. He would like to get a new deal done. I doubt it's going to happen with Cincinnati. I would imagine they're probably going to pay Jamar Chase instead. Here is a valuable question, though. I think we can all agree Jamar Chase better player than T. Higgins. I think that's fair to say. Jamar Chase, one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. Would you rather pay Jamar Chase top of the line money and reset the wide receiver market at some point with Jamar Chase? Or would you rather pay a little bit less and have T. Higgins? Because you can't keep both.
Yeah,
you're not going to end up having both beyond this year.
I'd pay a little bit less.
Really? Is that just so you can build up the rest of the roster? Or
Yeah.
You don't think there's a huge difference between the two?
I think it's building up the rest of the roster. Obviously, they gave Joey B a bunch of money.
Mhm.
And you're probably going to have to give, now, why am I forgetting his name? The defensive end that's holding out.
Hendrickson.
Trey
Hendrickson.
If he wants a new contract too, you're going to have to try and maybe do something there unless you're just going to let it go and have
That's
him
fair.
not play all year. So there's a lot more things to do for the Bengals, so maybe I think that the best thing to do would be bring Higgins back.
I think that's a totally fair point. I would probably lean with Chase. I am just always in the camp that you keep greatness. And Seth Keister, friend of the show, from the Only Weird Games Chiefs podcast and the Chief in the North newsletter. We've had him on so many times. And I have always had it stick with me. You are willing to let good players walk, and you should do everything you can to keep the great players. And I think T. Higgins is more than good. I think he'd be a number one for a lot of teams. I just think Jamar Chase is different. I think he might be a top 3 guy at wide receiver in the NFL. That's where I would probably lean. We'll see, though. They can't keep both. There's just not enough money to keep both of them, especially when you consider, again, they changed the name of the stadium. They sold the naming rights to Paul Brown Stadium in order to have cash on hand to pay Joe Burrow. They're just poor, they're kind of cash poor as a football team goes, but they're also just dirt cheap. And I just don't see them finding a way to bring both of them back. So that was obviously big news earlier on this weekend and today. I also was thinking about this. I found this from Pro Football Focus today. They have their 7 NFL teams facing the most pressure to succeed in 2024. And I actually agree with the vast majority of this list. Number 1 is the Jets. I agree that if they do not make the playoffs, everyone's getting fired. Robert Saleh, fired. Nathaniel Hackett, fired. You immediately have to come up with a plan to replace Aaron Rodgers. You're going to have to replace probably most of your roster because you're going to sell them for parts and rebuild. Aside from, who's locked on? Quinnen Williams and Garrett Wilson, and that might be it.
Sauce Gardner for 2 more
years.
years.
Sauce Gardner. Okay, yeah, you're right. Duh.
Who you'll probably throw on the extra year there.
Oh, yeah, you'll pick up the 5th year. No doubt about that. Okay, so you got 3 dudes, essentially, if you don't make the playoffs this year. I would agree. They're number 1. The Eagles. Probably. I think it's going to be a winnable division for them in the East this year. I don't think Washington's going to be in a contending spot yet. I'm not. Daniel Jones is still starting for the Giants. I don't have any expectations for them, even with some wide receiver help. And I think the Cowboys are taking a step back. They haven't gotten better.
They haven't really done anything. We discussed this all offseason long. The Jerry Jones spoke on, we're going to get better this offseason. We're going to do some stuff, and they haven't really done anything.
So I would agree that the Eagles, given the fact that they should probably win that division by multiple games, they have some pressure. Really, the pressure's on Nick Sirianni. They paid Jalen Hurts. He's not going anywhere. They paid Devontae Smith. They've got A.J. Brown. They've got defensive stalwarts. They just drafted 2 more defensive backs. Their core is set. This is more so to me Nick Sirianni than it is the Eagles as a whole.
I mean, what happened last year? I mean, there was questions after this last season, right?
Mm-hmm.
That somebody could be gone. I think that's a good point with where they were put.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I would absolutely have them on this list as well.
Back to the Jets for a minute.
Sure.
Over the weekend, I think it was on Friday, Albert Breer spoke to Rich Eisen on his podcast, and he went into all but saying Aaron Rodgers was on an ayahuasca retreat. That's why he wasn't. He didn't say it, but he said all but, essentially, that Aaron Rodgers was absent from mandatory minicamp because he was on an ayahuasca retreat.
What do we always say? It's always obvious that why bad teams stay bad and good teams stay good. There was no need. Honestly, the Jets should have just excused his absence. All Robert Saleh had to do was say, Aaron Rodgers is not here. He has an excused absence. Move on.
Still fine him. Do whatever you want to do in the building internally.
And people would make their jokes. Oh, but he's on a darkness retreat. But at least you say, yep, we know he's gone. It's excused. We're moving on.
That was the weirdest week, I think. They created it themselves.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, he's not here, but it's excused. Well, we already know everything.
Well, the fact that they said it was unexcused.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If they said that, then
okay. Yeah, I'm following.
But he literally said, he's not here. It's unexcused.
But also we knew he wouldn't be here.
Yeah,
So, that is screaming to me he took vacation and isn't coming in.
Yeah.
Like, he's taking vacation without PTO. Why would you say that?
I don't know.
Why would you say that?
Literally, it's a make or break year for your entire team, and you're screwing it up by starting it out like this.
Like, can you imagine if I had billed for, like, if on Friday I had said, Monday, Spencer and I are going head to head. We're going to go first take style. We're going to debate Brady Singer. And then we show up today and you're not here. And I said, oh, yeah, Spencer's not here. He took time off. I knew about it. But also he should be here.
Yeah.
Why would I publicize that? Why would I tell the world that?
Exactly.
The management is just, and I like Saleh enough, and I think he's a good defensive coach, but my God, how do you run a team that poorly and that ineptly? Every damn week, it's historically, it seems like the Jets have done something stupid. It just drives me up a wall. I don't even care. I don't even like the Jets, but it just is insane.
Yeah.
Next on this list from PFF, in the Jets division, the Miami Dolphins. I agree with this, not necessarily because they're going to totally tear it all down if they don't have a great year, but this might be it for their offensive core. Running backs have a shelf life. They don't get paid all that much, and teams cycle through them all the time, especially someone who's running a system like Mike McDaniel is. And then we've talked about it a bunch in the last 2 weeks. No one knows what the future for Tyreek Hill is. I mean, his future is completely up in the air. We were joking the other day about...
Hell, he doesn't even know his future. He literally said, I'm going to retire after this next contract. And I think 2 weeks ago, he went on talking about wanting another contract.
He is... You want to talk about mismanagement, his PR team. Yeah, so this year, he's got a cap hit of $31 million. Tyreek Hill, he's 30 years old as a wide receiver. Next year, it's $34 million, and you really can't cut him either year. This year, they'd lose $22 million if they cut him. Next year, they would gain $12 million, and then the year after, they would save $45 million if they cut him. So
the only way to do it would be to restructure his contract, give him a huge signing bonus, right?
Yeah, give him a huge signing bonus. And honestly, probably add on a couple void years on to spread it out too. If he was willing to do that, maybe that's a way you're able to keep him longer term. But you don't know that he's going to be around forever. Like, realistically, you could cut him next year and say, we'll eat the 22 in order to save 12, and we'll go draft 2 wide receivers. And they won't be as good as Tyreek Hill, but we'll be able to build the rest of the roster. Yeah. So I just think in terms of roster building, that's kind of where they're in that conversation. We just talked about this team, the Dallas Cowboys. They're under the most pressure because they don't know if they have a quarterback beyond this year. Again, how? This last week, I asked Matt Verderame, who's going to join us here in just under 10 minutes. Or I'm sorry, just under 20 minutes. Man, imagine if I could count. Imagine if I could do math in my head.
Monday.
It's Monday. I didn't sleep all that well last night. It happens.
Do you ever, though? Because you don't go to bed till like 1 a.m. So.
Oh, no. Usually 2. It took me a while to fall asleep last night. I was up on my phone until like 2:30-ish before I fell asleep.
Been there.
Yeah, and then I slept okay. It wasn't great. It wasn't the most restful sleep of my life. But yeah, I don't sleep a whole lot. I don't need it. I've evolved beyond that. Just like how I've evolved to a point where I'm immune to foodborne illnesses because of all the raw beef and chicken I've eaten in my life and pork. I'm just immune to it now. Like, I'll never get salmonella. I'll never get E. coli, anything like that. I'm immune to it. I tell my wife that, and she gets so mad. She's like, that's not true. Cook meat through.
I mean,
I try.
You're sitting here saying that. Hopefully, you knocked on the wood table.
All I'm going to say is I meal prepped yesterday and made chicken for the week, and at least one of them probably not up to health code standards. But
jeez.
I will be fine, and I'm not going to get sick, and I'll feel as great as ever, and it will be further proof, anecdotally, that I'm immune to foodborne illnesses. Okay, we're getting off topic here.
Yes.
The Cowboys, though, they don't know that they have a quarterback beyond this year because Jerry Jones, like I asked Matt Verderame last week, I don't know that. I might disagree with what Matt said when he said, I think Jerry Jones wants to win a Super Bowl, but, these other things. I don't know that Jerry Jones does want to make a Super Bowl. Genuinely, does he want to win a Super Bowl, or does he want to be what everyone's talking about? Because they're not necessarily the same thing. And I think Jerry Jones cares about the Cowboys being talked about more than he cares about them actually winning a title.
I mean, I'm not going to go on and say my whole personal opinion on Jerry Jones because I don't want to get sued or anything by Jerry Jones. But I think
Are you planning to commit slander?
I think he's losing it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I would. Yeah, I don't think you'll get in any trouble for saying that.
I think he's going senile.
I mean, would you be? His
Like
son has been running a lot of the day-to-day stuff for years.
Yeah, but he doesn't make the actual decisions. That's the issue. If his son made the decisions, I think the Cowboys would be in a little better of a place.
That's probably true. But again, that's why I wondered, like, what are they actually caring about the most?
I mean, clearly he wants the spotlight because he's one of the only owners who goes on radio shows regularly.
That's crazy. Can you imagine if I'm going to tell you this right now, and like Jerry Jones is charismatic, obviously. I would, if Clark Hunt had a weekly radio show, unless it was with us, I would literally never listen. Never. I'm not interested.
The only way I could see a team doing that is if they owned the actual radio station.
Yeah, that's true.
Where that would be like somewhat like a normal thing. Like, hey, I'm the owner. Like I can, like, I don't only own this team, but I also own this station. Let me do what I want on the station.
Yeah. Like a one-time thing. Sure. A weekly radio hit is insane.
Yeah.
Next on the list, also from the NFC, the Falcons.
Makes sense.
Makes sense because A, you spent a lot of money on the quarterback. You went out and got an offensive-minded head coach. You've got all this good young talent. What you going to do? And you've also got the fact that you just drafted Kirk Cousins' replacement without telling him in the first round of the draft when you had plenty of other holes you needed to fill. Have you seen the clip that went around? I think it was Friday last week and then more over the weekend. There's a show about the draft. I think it's called The Pick Is In. It's a little behind-the-scenes look at this year's draft and war rooms from around the league.
Yeah, because all the teams are starting to put out their, like, if they have team-produced content because they were in it.
So Ryan Pace was the Bears' old GM. Ryan Poles called Terry Fontenot, the GM of the Falcons, and essentially offered a 4th-round pick to move up one spot, to move from 9 to 8 to make sure that the Bears could get Rome Odunze. A 4th-round pick for free to move one spot. Nothing would have changed. The Falcons still could have taken Penix. The Bears still would have gotten Odunze. And they said no. They passed on a free 4th-round pick. I guess because they were paranoid, the Bears would then trade the 8th pick again. The Bears wanted Odunze. Everyone knew that for a month. Everybody. I knew that. And I don't know anything.
Heck, but when they were, when they were traveling to the draft, they were on the dang plane together. They took a flight together.
Everybody knew.
We're on the same flight to Detroit.
It is absolutely crazy.
I don't know how true this is. I saw this over the weekend, but it was when I think it was in the middle of the night after I couldn't sleep on Saturday. We'll talk about that later. In
good.
Bad, and the ugly. Apparently, players for the Falcons, the younger guys, the second teamers, have been having trouble catching passes from Penix as a lefty.
That is something that I've always read takes adjusting because the ball spins differently.
Yeah.
I remember a story reading a biography on Steve Young where he said that his coach, his freshman coach at BYU, told him he wasn't going to coach him. Like, I'm not coaching a lefty. And told him that he should change positions to safety. Obviously, that man was very dumb. That man was very stupid. If you have that kind of talent, you say, sorry, you're left-handed, I'm not going to coach you. You don't belong in coaching, but that's a diatribe for another day. So yeah, the Falcons belong here. One more from each conference. From the AFC, the Jaguars. Yep. Doug Peterson. I was calling him Drew Peterson. Whoops. Doug Peterson absolutely needs to have a better year. Jags got to make the playoffs with the big contract now for Trevor, all the money they spent in free agency, the same problems they have had in the trenches for years now. They've got to take a step forward after how disappointing last year was. 9-8 and missing the playoffs last year after going 9-8 and being one of the feel-good stories of the 22 season. You can't live with that. You just can't stomach that if you're Jacksonville. So yeah, they're absolutely on the list. They should be at the top of this list. Finally, this is the only one I wholeheartedly disagree with, Chicago. So it may feel odd putting a team that's gone a combined 10-24 in the past 2 years on this list, but the Bears finally have components to be really good. Starts with Caleb Williams. They also added Keenan Allen, Rome Odunze, Kevin Byard to the secondary, DeAndre Swift at running back. DeAndre Swift's not that good. I don't know why people keep throwing that in there. With stars at several positions and a fantastic all-around roster, that is really overrating it. The Bears will need to exercise their demons in 2024 and at least vie for a wild card berth. If underachievement continues, uncertainty at head coach looms. The Bears are not.
I think he bought himself a couple years.
I agree completely. Also, where is this fantastic all-around roster coming from? Like, they've got a very average offensive line. Trenton is like edge 3, and I think you're edge 2 for the Bears this year. Like, they have no one rushing
That was
the
where
passer.
I remember in our mock draft.
Yeah, they had Austin Booker, who
Yeah.
I love Booker. I don't think he's going to do much as a rookie, though, because he's too small. Like, he needs to bulk up. I love Booker, but for 24, like, that's a 25 and 26 pick. For 24, they have a lot of holes they still need to fill.
I mean, I said in the mock that I wanted them to take a edge rusher early.
Yeah.
They didn't because they took a Dunze.
Yeah.
Which I don't blame them for, but like, if you're going to go offense 1, then you got to go defense. You know what I'm like? If you have 2 picks in the first round, I know you wanted Dunze to pair with him. You have a great set of wide receivers as it was.
Yeah.
So I could have gone there and gotten edge rusher depth.
Yeah. So that's the only one I disagree with there. We'll talk more NFL coming up in about 10 minutes with Matt Verderame. Now it's 10 minutes with Matt Verderame of Sports Illustrated. We'll also recap Father's Day weekend with the good, the bad, and the ugly coming up next. But first, we need 5 texters to the Top City Metal Supply text line. You know the number, 785-272-9429. Don't text yet. Do not text yet. We need you to text in your full name, first and last, and we're going to have you, I don't know, what should we use as the keyword here? What should we use as our keyword? Let's make it easy, because this is how we got to this giveaway anyway. You need to text us the word YouTube. The first 5 texters to 785-272-9429. Send us your full name and the keyword YouTube. First 5 will be entered into our Diamond Club giveaway. That's coming up here on the other side of this break on 580 Sports Talk. Before we get to a quick round of the good, the bad, the ugly from this weekend, live from the Kansas Drive to Zero studio, congratulations are in order for our 5 text-in entrants to our Diamond Club ticket giveaway. Ross, Gary, Johnny, Vance, and Brian. Those 5 have been entered into our giveaway for a pair of tickets to next Wednesday, Royals versus Marlins, 1:10 first pitch at the K, 2 seats in the Diamond Club. We will take 5 final entrants to our giveaway in the 4 o'clock hour. You're going to have to be on YouTube for that one, okay? So go subscribe to our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, right now so you can get ready for our YouTube entries coming up next hour. Excited about this. Lots of people getting involved. Thank you to all of our texters. We had a boatload come in.
They were still coming in until about a minute left in that break.
We only can take 5. So we appreciate you all texting in. We'll again have a chance on YouTube coming up in the 4 o'clock hour. Real quick, let's get to the good, the bad, and the ugly before we get to Matt Verderame. How was your weekend alone? Is that a good?
It was good because I wasn't feeling very well, which is not the good part. So the good part was no free shout out, but a free shout out to Sam's Club with the $13 Royals hat.
Finally got some Royals merch.
Yeah,
there we go.
$13 can't beat it.
My good was my wife and I went down to Wichita. Something we love to do every summer is go catch at least one Winston game. $20. We were right behind home plate.
Okay.
It was awesome. Great seats. Delayed for about an hour. Game went to extra innings. Winston came away with a win. But no, it was a fun time. It was KU. Got a KU Winston had Grady Dick throughout the first pitch. It was a really fun time down there. So that was my good. You have a bad?
Yeah, that I was not feeling very well.
Yeah, it's not great.
Was on weather duty, but when this weather was popping through, I was out because I took the night version of a medicine, not the day version of a medicine.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
My bad from the weekend. Rory McIlroy, we'll talk about him a little bit more in headlines today, totally gagged away what could have been a win at the U.S. Open at Pinehurst this weekend. And then after gagging it away like the choke artist he is, he bailed out like 6 minutes after his round. He was in his car headed for the airport. Didn't take any questions. Like, dude, take questions like a man. That is such an embarrassment.
Well,
take questions like a man.
This comes off the heels of the divorce that he had is off now.
Yeah,
he's not
married again. Still married, not remarried, just still married.
Not getting a divorce.
Dude, like, it's your fault. No one else did this to you. You're the one who yacked it away. It's childish. That was your ugly?
Yeah.
Yeah, my ugly for the weekend. We're going to ask Matt Verderame this question in just a matter of moments. Why is Isaiah Buggs still on the Chiefs? He got arrested again this weekend for burglary / domestic violence. Why is he on the team? Why is he still employed by the Chiefs?
They also just signed a guy at minicamp.
Cut him! There's no need for this. Move on. You've got a bad enough offseason. Why is he still on the roster?
He's a practice squad guy.
Yeah, not worth it. Not worth the time. That does it for the good, the bad, and the ugly. Coming up next, we'll go around the NFL with Matt Verderame of Sports Illustrated here on 580 Sports Talk live from the Kansas Drive to Zero studio. Matt Verderame covers the NFL for Sports Illustrated and SI.com. He's also the host of the Matt Verderame Show on Patreon and That Football Show at the KC Sports Network. He joins us every Monday here on 580 Sports Talk, where we are live from the Kansas Drive to Zero studio. Matt, a happy belated Father's Day to you. How was your Father's Day weekend?
It was good. Nice and relaxing. I appreciate it. How was your weekend?
It was nice. I went down, saw some minor league baseball in Wichita. I hung a curtain yesterday. I will tell you this, Matt. I don't know if you're handy around the house. I am the least handy man on earth, and I nearly had a freak out just like putting some screws in the wall. So to do even that was a big accomplishment for me.
I've kind of learned how to do that over the years, but yeah, if it's a really important project, either my dad or my father-in-law is getting called in for at least guidance, if nothing else.
Yeah, that's usually the smart way to do it. My wife will always say, "Well, I think we can do this ourselves." And I always would say, "Are you sure? Like, do you know who you married?" I'm not exactly sure we can do this ourselves.
Yeah, it's if it's something where if I screw up, it's going to be really bad, then I hire somebody, or I let like my father-in-law do it. But yes, otherwise, screws, nails, I got that covered. If I've got to do some drywall, I can do that. But if it's anything like electrical, I'm out. I'll burn the entire house down.
Well, speaking of burning the house down, Isaiah Buggs could have had a bright NFL future, and then he decided to get arrested twice in one offseason. My big question from the Chiefs weekend, Matt, why is he still on the roster?
It's a great question. Great question. And my answer to that would be they don't care. Because if they cared, it would be on their roster. There's no reason Isaiah Buggs should be on an NFL roster. And I understand the people who want to sit here and say, hey, there are allegations and he hasn't been proven guilty of anything. That's fine. I mean, that is fair. It's a reasonable opinion. And I would say that as far as like the court of law goes, yeah, sure, absolutely. He is a fringe NFL player who is not going to make the team. Like, let's just be honest. He is not making the team. And you're going to keep this guy on the team despite all this stuff? Like, what is the upside? He got arrested once, then got himself arrested again, and with some pretty serious charges. And you've just, as a team, got, that's all right. That's okay. I mean, I'll say one thing for the Chiefs. This offseason is not going in the manual for how to have an offseason after you win a Super Bowl.
Well, and there's the thing for me. Like, you have, Rashee Rice is extremely important to this team. He's wide receiver one. Obviously, you're not going to cut him with what's going on. And thankfully, no one died. That would make things a little bit different. But, Isaiah Buggs is a nobody. And he's a body. He's on a futures contract. Like, why not take the layup and get the easy PR?
Again, I'll be honest, it is a great question. I mean, it is a staggering decision that they are making at the moment to just say, yeah, we're good. We're good. He's not going to make the team. But here's the other part of this. And I'm not trying to be critical of a guy who's not been found guilty of anything yet. But, let's just call it what it is. He's now been arrested twice, both on charges that are significant. Like, these are not, he had a little bit of pot in his car. Like, these are real things that he's been charged with, arrested for. You're running a real risk to the Chiefs. Like, what if he gets arrested again? Like, how bad is that going to be? Like, you don't know what it's going to be for if it happens. He's already shown that, he's good for 2 arrests in an offseason. Maybe he goes to the hat trick, and it's something unbelievable. But you don't know. And yet, you just seem to have not a care in the world. Doesn't bother you. Doesn't matter. It is poor judgment, to say the least. But again, I mean, I'm all about your actions show what you. They don't care, because if they cared, he'd be gone. So they clearly do not care. They're not bothered by it.
Matt Verderame is our guest. He covers the NFL for Sports Illustrated and SI.com. He's also the host of the Matt Verderame Show and That Football Show, the latter at the KC Sports Network. He joins us every Monday here on 580 Sports Talk via the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline. One other Chiefs gaffe before we get to some actual Chiefs football here. How do you have a typo on a championship ring? How is that possible? How do you not have 90 people who look over that first before you make that?
It's not good. It's not good. I will say there was a part of me. I actually noticed it like immediately when I saw it, and as many others did. And my God, that's wrong. Are you kidding me? It's actually kind of a hilarious slap in the face to the Dolphins.
Yeah.
Like the Dolphins were so bad in that game. They're like, they were the 7th seed, and like didn't even think twice about it. It's a bad mistake by the Chiefs. It's a worse mistake by Justin. Like, are you kidding? I mean, not one person. Like when I write an article for Sports Illustrated, it goes to the magazine. They fact check, and I mean this literally. They fact check every word.
Mm-hmm.
Every word. If I write that some guy's 38 years old, they will check that, double check it. You're making rings that are worth millions of dollars, and not one person was like, "Wait a minute, that's not right." I mean, that's rough. That's not a great way to keep it.
It is a slap in the face to Miami, but frankly, after watching that game back in January, it probably would have been less embarrassing if they just hadn't played, because we all knew. I remember previewing that game with you that week, Matt. Everybody on earth knew the Dolphins were going to get their you-know-what pushed in, and then they did. Like, if they had just not shown up, it probably would have been less embarrassing. So this is actually, I think, kind of fitting.
That's one of the very few games going into it that I just genuinely could not see any way their team was going to win the game. And it wasn't because the Chiefs were some juggernaut. I mean, obviously they ended up winning the Super Bowl, but I don't think anybody last year was like, yeah, they look great. I mean, they did not look great. But you watch Miami down the stretch, like, they're not winning this game. But there's no way. I mean, they can't go with anything that's under 75 degrees. So you kind of had a feeling it wasn't going to go well. But yeah, it is kind of crazy that people in real time noticed it when they saw the rings come out. They noticed it within 10. Nobody involved. It's not right. Not ideal for Jostens or for the Chiefs, but it really is kind of a fitting capstone to a Chiefs offseason that has been nothing less than a grease fire.
Well, through all of that, through the grease fire, they still are the best team in the AFC, and I understand why they're not the favorites in Vegas to win it all, but they should be. Until someone beats them, they absolutely should be the favorites. And you had a conversation on the Matt Verderame show this weekend, with Mike Tanier, longtime NFL writer, and you guys talked about the Chiefs' path forward in the conference, what the rivals are doing. Every offseason, it feels like we have these conversations in Chiefs media where we say, well, who has closed the gap? Who has gotten closer? Well, no one, because the Chiefs keep winning and no one else does. So let me format this a little differently then, Matt. Are there any of the Chiefs, premier quote-unquote rivals in the AFC? You look at Cincinnati, Baltimore, Buffalo, etc. Have any of those teams taken a noticeable jump forward this offseason? Not necessarily closing the gap, but just they have clearly improved from where they were a year ago.
It's funny. No, I don't think so. And I was talking to somebody about this the other day. Like, I actually think the AFC is just worse than it was last year. Like, when you really look at it, who's better? Like, who do you look at and say that team's definitely better? Cincinnati. I mean, with Burrow, look, if he's healthy, obviously because he's healthy, they're better.
Sure.
Baltimore's not better. Baltimore lost 60% of its offensive line. Baltimore lost a ton of guys on defense, including Mike McDonald. And everybody's like, well, they got Derrick Henry. Their problem's never been running the football. But their problem's everything else in the playoffs. They're not better. Buffalo's not better. Miami's not better. I mean, the Jets, the quarterback can't even be bothered to show up at the mandatory minicamp. They're better. I don't care about the Jets. Nobody's cared about the Jets for 60 years. The AFC West stinks outside of Kansas City. I mean, maybe you want to argue like Houston's better. Okay, that's fine. I'll hear that. Houston, they're probably the one team you say, yeah, they're better. But I think the Chiefs are better. Like, that's the thing. They lose Snead. The rest of the defense is there, and they still have an all-pro corner. And then on offense, they added all these weapons on offense, and they drafted a tackle in the second round. Like, I really think there's a world with this team where the Chiefs could win 14, 15 games. I mean, if you look at their schedule, it's not exactly a gauntlet. They play the NFC South, the AFC West. I mean, those are 10-year games for those teams. So I think the Chiefs, if they're healthy, if Rashee Rice is there for the bulk of the season, you get something out of Worthy. That's a team you look at and go, that team is far and away the best team in the AFC. And I know nobody's ever repeated, and it's tough, and obviously it's tough, but it's
it's a team that I look at and think they're better set up to win the Super Bowl this year than they were last.
You mentioned them, so we got to bring up the Jets. We were talking earlier this hour about teams facing the most pressure to have a successful season, and the Jets are at the top of the list because if they don't make the playoffs this year, everybody in that building, not named Garrett Wilson or Sauce Gardner, is getting fired and is going to be looking for unemployment. Like, they have to win this year, but they have also been the Jets, and they've been Jetsing for decades and decades. Like, if you're Robert Saleh, obviously Aaron Rodgers deciding to take a vacation or an ayahuasca retreat or whatever during minicamp is such a bad look for him personally. But if you're Robert Saleh, why would you go in front of the media, in front of all these microphones and God and everyone and say, oh yeah, we knew he wasn't going to be here, but it's still unexcused? But why would you make this a big deal? Don't draw more attention to it. I don't understand, Matt, how you can get to this level of success and prominence and be this incompetent at management like the Jets are.
Well, I was going to take a pot shot. I won't do it. I think, look, I'll put it this way. I'll be professional. I'll put it this way. The only reason I think Saleh might have done that, and the only reason if he said it, I could understand. There is a mentality. I shouldn't say mentality. There is a feeling around the league that the Jets are run by Aaron Rodgers and everybody else there is just a puppet or a teammate. And I think the Jets wanted to show, and Saleh in particular wanted to show, this is my football team, and we're not just going to do some party line thing and say that he's excused. And we're going to show the players on this team that we run the team, and it's not the quarterback. Now, if I'm right, and that's why he did it, Aaron Rodgers is not going to appreciate that. And, this might turn into something where, like we saw in Green Bay the last couple of years, where Aaron Rodgers basically just holds a 20-minute press conference where he airs grievances with everybody in the organization. And you know what? I got to tell you, though, the Jets are getting exactly what they had coming. Because anyone with a brain cell knew this is how this is going to go with him. Like, this is how this is going to go. There's a reason. I remember being at Packers camp last year. I was at OTAs with the Packers. I was at camp last year with the Packers. And I will tell you that nobody said it explicitly, but there was an unmistakable general feeling among people in that organization. Yeah, we're not too upset that he's not here. Like, there was not one person who was like, yeah, you know what? It's just devastating. He's gone. And nobody called him out. Nobody said, even off the record, like, hey, we're glad he's in. Nobody said that. But it was clearly like, hey, you know what? We're happy to be going with Jordan. We're fine. Like, it was, and I think the Jets, I just think you're to a point, like, whether or not they want it to be the case, he does run that organization. He runs that show. And, the thing that goes under the radar is Hassan Reddick, who they traded for and have apparently not had contact with until very recently. Were they unaware that he wanted a new contract? Like, why did you think he was on the market? I mean, it's just, again, this is a franchise that has no interest in actually winning football games. None. They want to win a back page. They want to be relevant. Woody Johnson wants to see green on the back of the New York Post, but they don't actually care if they win games. And for all the Chiefs nonsense this offseason, when it's actually time to play football, they care a lot. And that's why they win. And the Jets are busy worrying about everything that isn't football.
We're joined by Matt Verderame of Sports Illustrated on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline. And Matt, I'm not sure if you've seen this video that Brandon Ayuk posted this morning about with Commanders quarterback Jaden Daniels saying they didn't want me back. This comes after Jeremy Fowler of ESPN reported that the talks between Ayuk and the 49ers for this stalemate. What is your take on this? Like, is he going to play this year, or is he even going to get another contract?
Well, look, I mean, the reality for him is if they don't trade him, he's playing in San Francisco this year because he's not going to hold out because he's on a rookie deal. It's a lot of money. I mean, he'll be there, but he won't be happy. And, if you look at the Niners books, I mean, between the coming off season and the following one, everybody who matters is free agent. Everybody. So they've got to make a bunch of decisions. Obviously, they just paid McCaffrey to care of him. But they got to make a decision. Like, do they want Debo going forward or do they want Ayuk? I would take Ayuk personally. Like, Debo Samuel, for the name value that he has had one great year. That's it. Like, he's a good player. He's a very good player, but he's had one great year.
Mm-hmm.
And he's getting older. Like, if you're the Niners, I'd rather have Brandon Ayuk and move off Debo Samuel after this season. But the hard thing is, when you wait on these contracts, the money's gone crazy. I mean, if I'm Brandon Ayuk, okay, I'm not getting Jefferson money. I want AJ Brown. I want $32 million a year. And if I'm the Niners, I'm not giving him $32 million a year. He's not worth $32 million a year. Like, I'll let Jacksonville give him $32 million a year. I'm not giving him that. So that's why I think you see a stalemate now. It's the same reason when we talked about this last week, I believe, with Cincinnati. Like, Jamar Chase is going to want $35 million a year. Well, good luck getting it from Cincinnati. Good luck. And and he's got years left on his deal. CeeDee Lamb will get it in Dallas because Jerry will pay it, don't pay. But it's hard. It's hard. That is, you're asking for a lot of money. And that, it's just, the Niners have a million guys. They got to pay Purdy at some point here. That's going to be $50+ million easy a year, easily. So, their bills are coming due, and they got to make some tough choices.
Matt, we've got about a minute here. One last question for you. I'll ask it for our co-host Dan, who's out on paternity leave, but I know he's been talking about this for a while. Do you think that Purdy will eventually get a new deal from the Niners?
Yes, I do. And I think it's going to be mid-50s and up per year because that's what the cost is. And I got to tell you, if I were the Niners, I'd be very nervous signing that, but I don't think you have much of a choice. Like, the Dolphins are going to pay too. And I just wrote a piece on that side that went up on Thursday. And I talked to multiple defensive coordinators, multiple GMs, all these different people, and probably about half dozen sources for it. And both these coordinators, the same thing. Like, yeah, we enjoy playing against him. Like, he's like the third thing we game plan for. And Miami's probably going to pay him. So, you're in a league right now where if you got even half of these quarterbacks going to pay him, Purdy's proven you can at least get to a Super Bowl, granted, with a great team around them. But yeah, I think the Niners are probably going to give him $55 million a year plus, and they better hope that when they start losing some of these weapons, he can prop up some lesser guys.
Go check out that piece and all of Matt's other great work in Sports Illustrated and at SI.com. You can also hear him on the Matt Verderame Show on Patreon and That Football Show at the KC Sports Network. Matt joins us every Monday here on 580 Sports Talk to talk all things NFL. And as always, Matt, we appreciate the time. We'll talk to you soon.
Absolutely. Take care.
Matt Verderame joining us here on 580 Sports Talk. We've got more spots to give away for Royals tickets and more next hour on 580 Sports Talk from the Kansas Drive to Zero studio. live from the Kansas Drive to Zero studio. This is 580 Sports Talk. We are halfway home on a Monday afternoon. No Royals baseball tonight, so it's just us for your sports fix here on 580 WIBW today. I am Brendan Dworzinski. Across the table from me in the Kansas Drive to Zero studio is Spencer Dupuis. On the other side of the glass, it's our summer intern, Trenton Kraxner, and the empty seat to my left would be Spencer's
Would be
seat.
me.
But the empty seat in the studio would normally belong to Dan Lucero. He, however, is out again this week. He is on paternity leave. Got to celebrate his first Father's Day yesterday. Hope all the dads had a great Father's Day. Got to spend some time with family, or maybe got to spend some time alone. Whatever you wanted to do to celebrate on Father's Day, and all those who fill fatherly roles and the role of dad in your home. Hope you all had a great day yesterday. Coming up in this 4 o'clock hour of the show, we'll talk some KU and K-State hoops. The rosters are set. We know who will be the 13-man roster for K-State and the 12-man scholarship roster for KU. What will the rotations look like? What are the expectations? We're going to break all of that down here in just a second. We've got What Is Wrong With You coming up here in just a little bit, and news from the State House about potentially trying to build stadiums and lure the Chiefs and Royals across the state line into Kansas. What's it going to look like right now? Where is it trending? We'll talk about that later on this hour. 5 o'clock hour, we have our 580 Sports Talk headlines, a ton of them to get to. In fact, we'll also talk a little Royals baseball. And we've got 5 more spots to give away. 5 more for our YouTube giveaway. It is technically, in a sense, for our Royals Diamond Club ticket giveaway. If you missed it earlier in the show or you missed it on Friday's show, we are giving away today a pair of tickets to Royals Marlins on Wednesday next week. That is June 26th. That is a 1:10 first pitch. A pair of tickets to sit in the Diamond Club. Those tickets also come with a parking pass, and they come with $20 loaded onto each ticket for concessions inside the Diamond Club. It is awesome. I have been lucky enough to sit there before. It is incredible. You're right behind the plate. Hopefully the weather will be great on that day to make it even better. It should be awesome, and we are excited to send you there. In our first hour today, we had callers who were able to enter. Last hour, it was on the Top City Metal Supply text line that you were able to enter for our giveaway. This hour, we're going to do it on YouTube. You're going to get direct instructions later on this hour for how to comment on YouTube, what you need to comment on YouTube, and when we get there, you'll be able to go over, comment, be able to enter the contest. Only one entry per person. So if you already have been entered in via the phone or via text, you can't enter again. It's one entry per person. We'll take 5 YouTube commenters. That is coming up a little bit later on this hour. You got to be subscribed, okay? And we can tell. We got the list of all of our subscribers. It's big. We'll Control F, we can find you. So you got to go subscribe to the YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk. If you don't know how to get there, it's very simple. Go to youtube.com, search 580 Sports Talk. That's how you find the channel. That's how you'll find today's live video stream. Watch it. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. It's free. You don't have to pay anything for it. It's not like a Substack subscription or a cable subscription. No, you just hit subscribe. And then when you hear that we need you to comment with a keyword and your name, you're set. You will be, our first 5 who do so will be entered for our Royals Diamond Club giveaway, and we will give those tickets away coming up at the top of the 5 o'clock hour. That's when we will announce our winner. It'll be a random drawing from our 15 entrants today. Again, 580 Sports Talk on YouTube. Go get subscribed, and you will have a chance to win those Royals tickets. The offseason, for all intents and purposes, is done for KU and K-State basketball. KU has added a bevy of transfers. That includes Zeke Mayo, the Lawrence native who went to South Dakota State, Rylan Griffin from Alabama, AJ Storr from Wisconsin, previously of St. John's, who Andy Katz of NCAA.com, who generally I have no respect for as a journalist, but he did say AJ Storr, 4th best transfer in the country this year. KU also added Shaquille Moore, who will be in his 5th year, previously of Mississippi State. The Jayhawks also added Noah Shelby, who is a transfer walk-on from Rice. K-State, meanwhile, they added a ton of transfers this year. Coleman Hawkins, who Andy Katz called transfer number 1 in the country this season. Coleman Hawkins, Achor from Samford, Ugana Onyensu from Kentucky, Max Jones, CJ Jones, Brendan Housen, the sharpshooter from Villanova, Doug McDaniel, the point guard from Michigan, Baye Fall, the big man from Arkansas, and JUCO transfer as well, Moby Ike Gwaruka from in Iowa Community College.
Good work on all those names.
Thank you.
Fast and furious.
Very, very impressed with myself, frankly. Yeah. But on a serious note, those are the transfer newcomers for each team. KU's got 2 freshmen, Flory Badunga, Rakis Passmore. K-State's got 1, David Castillo. The groups they're bringing back, KU's bringing back more. Harris, Dickinson, Adams, Clemens, McDowell, and it would have been Elmarco Jackson, but unfortunately he's hurt. K-State's bringing back David Gasson, Buddy Rich, and Taj Manning. KU also, we should note, is only going to have 12 scholarship players this year, assuming they do not add an international player, which I don't think KU will at this point. We'll ask Michael Swain that again tomorrow. But KU is going to eat its final self-imposed scholarship reduction from the FBI case. That's why KU is going to go with 12. K-State will have a full 13. Let's start with Kansas, okay? KU is going to be top 5 in the country preseason.
Yeah.
This roster is good enough. They're going to be top 5. I don't know that they'll be number 1. I figure that'll be Duke. I think it'll be Duke, Gonzaga, Alabama, KU as 4 of the top 5. I don't know who number 5 will be, but I think that'll be 4 of the 5.
UConn could be in there.
Oh, UConn. Yeah, okay, UConn will be 5. Yeah. Okay, so I think that'll be your preseason top
order.
5. Yes, exactly. In some order. What do you think, before we get to the lineup and the rotation, what is a realistic expectation for this team? To me, being both admittedly a fan of the team, where it's where I went to school, but also having covered this team in some capacity since 2013 as a student broadcaster, media member, professional media member, all of these things, you have the expectation that KU is going to be good, that KU is going to be really good. And if you want to say, Brendan, you said this was a national championship contender last year. They clearly were not. And you know what? By the end of the year, correct. I was wrong about
Injuries.
that. But injuries, the depth problems, major issues. But I thought, like, starting roster-wise, starting lineup-wise, yeah, they could have been good enough to compete with anyone except UConn, clearly. This roster, to me, is better than last year. And the biggest reason why, you got bucket getters. You got AJ Storr, who's a bucket getter. Rylan Griffin can play both ways. Zeke Mayo, probably going to come off the bench. He's a bucket getter.
He's a guy that's going to come off the bench.
Who would start for most teams.
Yes, like he would legitimately start for a good chunk of teams in the top 25.
Summit League Player of the Year. So you added bucket getters. You ideally have more depth. I think your freshmen are going to be impact players in Badunga and Passmore. To me, and this should be the expectation yearly for KU, this should be a Final Four team.
That's where I was going to go. Ceiling a national title, legit Final Four, and the floor, I think, for them is Elite 8.
I think this feels like a year to me. You know, I was using the phrase last week for K-State with the Coleman Hawkins ad, and we'll get to K-State here in a minute. For KU, you have to be a second weekend team.
Yeah.
You won the national title in 22. It was amazing. It was great. The year after, you get bounced by Arkansas. A, that was a bad matchup. B, Dwan Harris got hurt in the second half. I know he played, but he clearly wasn't 100%. And you didn't have Bill Self. Bill Self did not coach in the NCAA tournament. He had a heart issue, right? Like, obviously, you're going to take a step back. This year, they never ended up meeting their ceiling because they had no depth. Their guys were exhausted. Kevin McCullough got hurt, and then Hunter Dickinson got abused in the pick and roll against Gonzaga. Another bad matchup. Fewer excuses, but okay, understandable enough. This team needs to make the second weekend. Sweet 16, Elite 8, you've got to get there. I think they have the pieces too. I really do. And, I mean, shoot. I know people like to make, or, well, more so before the second title, but would make fun of Bill Self. Oh, Elite 8, can't get past the Elite 8. And if you got to the Elite 8, that's a really good year. If you're one of the final 8 teams out of 363 still playing, that's a great year. So I think this team has to make the second weekend. Must make the second weekend, and I think is a legit Final Four contender, legit title contender with this roster this year. Which of the newcomers, whether it's freshmen or transfers, excites you the most?
Honestly, it might just be Shaquille Moore.
I kind of like that pick.
It was a kind of it's either Shaquille Moore or AJ Storr for me.
Okay.
It's between those two guys. And I say Shaquille Moore because he's a guy that he was in the draft, right?
I don't remember if he had gone through the draft. At some point, I think he had.
He was a late addition, but he's a good addition, like a great addition, a solid addition late. Like we've talked about teams that have gotten good guys at this point in the offseason. And I think he's one of those guys. And AJ Storr, who was going to go to the draft and then committed to KU and basically dropped out of the draft.
Yeah.
So it's between those two guys.
Sorry. I think it's funny that you picked those two, but I understand it because they're totally different players.
Yeah.
But they both add something KU did not have last year.
Exactly.
KU needed a dude who you say, any given moment, any spot of the floor, get me a bucket. AJ Storr can be that guy. Having someone who can come off the bench and play lockdown defense for you and be a backup ball handler, well, really a third ball handler after Harris and Mayo, that's what Shaquille Moore can be. Those are two things KU didn't have before. I'm actually really pumped for Zeke Mayo. I think as your kind of instant offense microwave off the bench, he can be a really fun player. He might play 25 minutes off the bench, but I think Storr too, and the talent offensively he brings, it just raises your ceiling so high, especially after how just gross the offense was for a lot of last year. So if you had to build a 5, you're going to build the starting lineup, or you're going to build the main rotation, what would it look like? Obviously, El Marco's not going to play, so you're already down to 11. I don't think we'll see a ton of Passmore or Badunga. I think you'll see some of them. I don't think you'll see a ton. And I don't know how much McDowell is going to play, honestly. So I think that
unless he randomly just takes a step up during the offseason.
That's true. And if he has a great offseason, then hell yeah, put him in, because I like the potential for McDowell. So I think you're probably looking at Harris as your 1, Dickinson at the 5. I think Adams is going to start at the 4. We'll get to that again here in a minute.
I think he'll start, but I think he comes out of the game early for replacement and doesn't play.
I could see that.
As many minutes as you would have expected from, there's going to be a minutes drop off for him.
And that's the key.
Compared, a bigger minutes drop off for him compared to anybody else on this roster that was here last year.
No, I agree with you. And I think KU needs that. We had a caller called during a commercial break. This is a couple months ago now. We were talking KU hoops. Now, I mentioned KJ Adams in the starting lineup. And our caller, and I appreciate folks calling in, but said, people talk about KJ Adams like he's this big deal, good player. He stinks. He's one of the worst players KU has had in the Bill Self era, and here's the reasons why. And while I respect the opinion, I don't agree. I think KJ Adams is a good player. KJ is also a limited player because he's not a shooter.
Yeah.
He's not going to stretch the floor. He's not a great rebounder despite his athletic profile, which is unfortunate. So I think going from playing him 34 minutes to playing him like 25 minutes.
I was going to go somewhere between 22 and 26.
Yeah, if you're in that range, you're going to get maximum him because you're going to get max defensive effort. You don't have to rely on the rebounding as much. I think that's the kind of thing that would make him a much more useful and much more attractive player. I do think he's going to start also because Bill Self loves the guy.
Yeah.
But let's be realistic. And then I think Rylan Griffin's your 2 and AJ Storr's your 3.
Yeah.
I think that's your starting 5. Zeke Mayo, I think, is your first guard off the bench. I think Moore is going to play a bunch, especially because of how good of a defender he is, And then Zach Clements is your backup 5. Here's the other reason I would play Adams. If you're going to say, hey, KJ's probably going to play more closer to 30 minutes, 28-ish minutes than 22-ish minutes, I'm cool with that if you say he's going to play some center. I like KJ as a small center because he's not a shooter. He plays near the basket. That's where he's at his best. And you can do the short roll stuff with him that's really effective. I just know that's not where they want to play him. But I think, senior year, let's get the most out of him. I think that's what you want to do with Adams. So I think that's your 8-man rotation. And Clements is your backup 5. He does what Parker Brown did last year.
Yeah.
Hopefully he's just a better version of what Parker Brown gave you last year. And then you sprinkle in Badunga and Passmore where necessary. K-State, we've already talked about this. I've really hammered home on K-State that this is a team that with this roster, and I feel like I'm talking down to K-State, but I'm really trying to lift them up. I'm trying to be positive and excited and not that they're taking any sort of, momentum from me or coaching from me. But when I say this is a must-have, no excuses year, if I'm a fan, I want to say, hell yeah. That's what I want. That's what I want this basketball program to be. to make a cross-sport comparison, if you'll indulge me for a second, my favorite NFL team, right? The Packers. This past year, first year with Love, all the young guys, it was like, wow, no expectations. Made the playoffs, won a game. Great. Awesome. Like, that's neat. Now, in year 2, all those dudes are back, and it's, hey, you're the Green Bay Packers. You need to contend for Super Bowls. The pressure is on. To me as a fan, I feel like, hell yeah. That's what I want. I want to be expected to be in the hunt. I want to be contending for a title. That's how KU is every year.
Yeah.
If you're K-State, and I genuinely believe this, and I mean this positively, you should love that, in my opinion. You should love being told, this is the top half of the Big 12 team. Why can't, in a 16-team league, why can't this be a top 6 team? Why can't that be you this year? Why can't you go get a top 4 seed in the NCAA tournament again? That is what I want for this K-State team. And when you add multiple starters through the portal, and again, just like KU, when you talk about more defensive stopper off the bench, you didn't have that last year. AJ Storr, the dude who can get you a bucket anytime, you didn't have that last year. Well, look at what K-State has added. Size. K-State needed size badly added after last year. Achora is 6'9", Coleman Hawkins is 6'10", Ugana Onyenso is 6'11". He's almost 7 feet tall. You added size. You got the height you needed. You needed more speed. You had to get up and down the floor more. You added a bunch of guards. You needed someone who could shoot the 3 better. Brendan Housen is better than RJ Jones. Would love to keep Jones, develop him. Brendan Housen's a better player right now. You bring him in. You had to cut down on the turnovers. You needed a real point guard. Doug McDaniel is a true one guard.
Yeah.
You added all of those things. And plus, I thought Buddy Rich showed some nice things. I think David Gasson is a nice player. I probably like David Gasson as a 6-man more than I like him starting. But that's a good roster. That's a good team with a good coach.
I think the biggest question is, how do all these guys fit together?
Sure.
Because
totally fair.
I mean, what? It's really only Gasson and Rich played a little bit of time. Those are really your only guys that. How much did Taj Manning play last year?
Minimally.
Exactly. I think
very little.
It's like your hierarchy of how they're listed on here is how much time they got, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Taj Manning last year in his first season played 14 games, averaged under 5 minutes a game.
Yeah. And then Buddy Rich, a little bit more time than that. And then David Gasson has the most returning time probably.
Yeah.
How does everybody mesh together? That's my biggest question mark for this Kansas State team this year. You have guys, you have dudes, as
Jerome Tang loves to
say. How are they all going to fit together, and what's your rotation?
So are they a must get to the tournament team for you?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say. I think you need to get to the round of 32. This team is built to win at least and I'm not saying.
I think even further than that. I think you need to get to at least a Sweet 16.
Okay.
Especially with the amount of money thrown into this team, and especially when you put Coleman Hawkins on this team, who got $2 million in NIL from what I heard on the daily delivery from Fitz this morning on Go Powercat YouTube. It was from the other day, but I heard it this morning. That money, that NIL collective is basically, and when I talk to you about it, it's like rerouting donors' money.
Yeah, like instead of infrastructure projects, let's get some talent. And that's whatever you want to say about Coleman Hawkins and his personality and how good is he really, that's about as close as you're going to get to star power out of the Big Ten coming to your team. Like, there are names. People know who Doug McDaniel is. People know who Coleman Hawkins is. Those are valuable things. So of these newcomers then, and maybe the answer is just Coleman Hawkins because he's the biggest name. For KU, we asked it. I'll ask you for K-State too. Which of these newcomers are you the most excited for?
Ooh.
I think there's a lot of fun options with this group.
There is. I don't even know where to go. I guess probably Doug McDaniel.
I was going to say McDaniel too, because we went from the 23 team, which had the fun Marquise Noel, Keontae Johnson combo, and Noel was so good that year, and they could run the floor a little bit. They could shoot the ball well. They had a legit point guard, to last year, that slog of an offense that didn't have anyone running it. Tyler Perry was playing out of position all year, which was a tough position to put him in. To have a guy who for his career has a 2-to-1 assist to turnover ratio, who can run the floor, had the issues where he got that weird half suspension last year. But as long as he can stay on the floor, I'm excited to see what this team can do with an actual quote unquote floor general this year. I think that's interesting. I'm also excited to see Onyenso, because if you put a guy in there who's 6'11", who's a shot blocker, what did we say all last year? Dan watched as much K-State basketball as anybody this past season. How many times did we come in on a Monday and recap the Saturday game, or come in on Wednesday after Super Tuesday and say, God, wouldn't it be nice for this team to have a real center?
Yeah. I think another guy is a Shore.
How can he hang in the Big 12?
Yeah. I mean, clearly he had a pretty good game in the tournament when he was with Sanford against Kansas.
Yeah. No, I think that's because if he can turn it on, 6'9", bouncy, can shoot. I mean, that's a really fun piece to have. But yeah, the question is, it's a lot different playing that playground ball at Samford, playing against, what are they in, the SoCon, whatever league they're in, to playing in the Big 12 with guys who are going to go play in the NBA and 4-year vets and all that. It's going to be a challenge, but I'm excited to see what K-State is able to do with that group. Coming up on the other side of this commercial break, we've got What Is Wrong With You, 2 news stories to lead off the week. And do not forget that coming up this hour on YouTube, we're going to have a way for 5 more and our 5 final entrants into our Royals Diamond Club ticket giveaway. You've got to be subscribed to the YouTube, and you've got to be ready to comment when we give you a keyword to comment with. That's coming up later this hour here on 580 Sports Talk, live from the Kansas Drive to Zero studio. What is wrong with you time on 580 Sports Talk, live from the Kansas Drive to Zero studio. Brendan Spencer and Trenton here with you today. Dan's out on paternity leave. We've got 2 news stories going head-to-head today to lead off the week. Thankfully, no one from our crew ended up in a What Is Wrong With You during the holiday weekend, which is a big positive for everybody. Spencer, I believe we are going down to the Sunshine State for your story today.
Yeah, why not? Let's always go there. My new favorite website for this, right? WFLA.com, News Channel 8 there in Florida.
You know, it's funny. We have, over the years, become big fans of a number of different websites that cover this stuff. It used to be Treasure Coast News. They had a guy who wrote all these stories called named Will Greenlee, and he used to write the goofiest stories ever. They were featured on What Is Wrong With You, I swear, 4 times a week.
Yeah, I've gone to this WFLA well quite frequently in the last couple of weeks. But let's go down there. A road rage incident led to a suspected drunk driver fleeing from a crash and punching a maintenance worker.
Oh.
According to a arrest report, the Cape Coral Police Department responded to a hit and run scene last Sunday after they received a call about a white pickup truck crashing into another car and fleeing. Another call about the same truck with its front tire blown out, speeding through a residential area. A witness flagged down police and told them the driver was, quote, acting crazy. The man, later identified as Juan Lago, 38, and his truck were located at a Circle K, where he was described as being aggressive. According to the report, he had slurred speech and glossy eyes and denied ever being in a crash. Officers also found a pocket knife in his pants. Police then interviewed several witnesses of the events. According to the report, Lago, stopped at a liquor store twice. He first bought a shooter a fireball before later returning to the store intoxicated. He then asked the employee and a customer if they liked Muslims.
What?
And that he was an ex-mani. I don't know what that
I don't
is.
even know what this word is.
And that they killed all of his people.
Okay. Good Lord.
When he returned 20 minutes later, the employees refused him alcohol. Should have done. Good job on the employees, which led him to becoming angry, spitting on a worker, trying to challenge him to a fight. Then he sped off in his truck, the report said. Another witness told officials that they were waiting for his truck to pass by before they pulled out of their driveway. Sorry, a pop-up pulled up, or an ad pulled down onto the road. That's when he made a U-turn and drove right at her, got out and tried opening the driver's door and started banging on her window. The woman's maintenance worker witnessed the incident and tried to step in and calm him down. However, he grabbed the man, pulled out the knife, threatened him before he punched the man in the face. After performing a field sobriety test, he was arrested for DUI, taken to a nearby hospital. That's when he headbutted an officer on his chin. Thankfully, the officer was not hurt. He was taken into Lee County Jail and is facing charges, including 3 counts of DUI, property damage, hit and run, driving with a suspended license, aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, and battery on a law enforcement officer.
This dude did a lifetime's worth of crimes in an hour.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Some people cannot handle their liquor.
Nope.
And this gentleman appears to be a great example of that.
Well, if he's drinking, he also shouldn't be driving.
Well,
that's what
obviously,
Kansas fans with the plan says.
That's right. Always designate a sober driver or ride share. This
guy didn't do it.
No. Have you not been listening to us? Jeez. Yeah, this dude sucks. My story today is also taking us to Florida, Broward County, where a man was arrested after he called 911 from inside of a victim's home. That's where he had locked himself while trying to escape a brutal beating from the homeowner. By the way, this guy was trying to rob that homeowner. Back on June 4th, the Broward County Sheriff's Office responded to an odd 911 report of an altercation within the Prospect Park complex. According to reports, the initial caller, later identified as 50-year-old Garrett Brown of Tamarack, Florida, was the man later charged with drug possession, burglary, and assault, calling from within the eventual victim's residence. So the incident report shows that while Brown was allegedly burglarizing a vehicle in the complex, the victim, the owner of the vehicle, observed the burglary in progress and confronted Brown inside the car. Risky decision. The victim later would tell deputies the confrontation escalated as the victim began striking Brown with closed fists to his face in an attempt to remove him from the vehicle. BSO records show the physical altercation then spilled onto the roadway, where the victim continued to punch and kick Brown. Seeking refuge, Brown fled into the victim's residence and locked himself in the bathroom. During this time, he called 911 and told the operator a chaotic story, stating that he was a customer who locked himself in the bathroom and that he worked for Weston Plumbing. He woke up and someone was beating him up. He ran into the bathroom and locked himself in. He did not know the address. Upon arrival, though, deputies spoke to the victim and used a PA speaker and cell phone calls to get Brown to finally leave the residence. He eventually complied and was immediately taken into custody. During the investigation, it was revealed that he never actually even got anything. He came away empty-handed from the burglary. A search of Brown, however, during the arrest uncovered a black cross bag containing a clear baggie with white crystals. The substance tested positive for MDMA, commonly known to the kids as ecstasy. The sheriff's office report also shows that surveillance video from Prospect Park captured the incident on camera, corroborating the victim's account. While under arrest, records show that Brown did admit he entered the victim's vehicle, acknowledging, quote, it was wrong. He also confessed to entering the residence, stating, quote, it was just to get away from him. Due to his injuries, Brown was admitted to the Florida Medical Center for attention. Upon his release, he was transported to the Broward County main jail and then posted $5,000 bond there.
These are both like multiple events within one story.
But 2 stories of guys doing the most. This one especially was an FAFO.
Yeah.
He messed around and he found out. Don't burglarize anyone, but especially if there's a chance that you're going to get your ass kicked. Don't burglarize that guy. So those are our 2 stories today. Spencer, I will give you the floor. Really, this is a battle of a moron versus a bad guy.
Yeah, these are 2 really good stories, and I think it's your saying Ty goes to sobriety.
Yeah, I think. Although really neither of them was sober because this guy had ecstasy on
But that
him.
doesn't mean he was doing it.
That's true. We don't know. Plausible deniability.
They didn't say that he was high, so
that's true. That's a good point. I think I'm going to go with this one too.
Yeah.
This is like an 8 out of 10 on the FAFO scale.
Yeah.
And the other guy, it just makes me sick. He's horrible. Oh, the racism in there, very bad.
Yeah.
This guy running away, having your crime go so badly that you have to call 911 effectively on yourself is such a funny turn of events.
The person you're trying to burglarize his house
right
in their bathroom that you locked yourself in because you messed around and you started to find out.
Oh my God. All right, we're going to go with that one. That is our new winner, our first winner of the week in What Is Wrong With You here on 580 Sports Talk. All right, you've waited this hour long enough. For our YouTube viewers, if you are on YouTube, if you're not there, you've got a matter of seconds to get there. 580 Sports Talk on YouTube. We are taking 5 more entries for our Royals Diamond Club ticket giveaway. These are a pair of tickets to Wednesday afternoon next week, June 26th, Royals versus Marlins, their series finale. Diamond Club, a pair of seats. They come with a parking pass, and they come with $20 of concessions loaded onto the ticket. Essentially, you sit there, you show them your ticket, they scan it, you get $20 worth of concessions. It's awesome. It is seriously awesome.
You're in the club area, so you probably get better concessions than normally.
Yeah,
is that correct?
They got a whole menu of stuff you can order. It rules. So we're giving away 2 tickets. We've already got 10 entries. We're going to take 5 more on YouTube. So here's what you're going to do. You're going to go to YouTube, the first 5 commenters, and you need to comment with your full name and the word subscribed. Okay? Go to YouTube, 580 Sports Talk on YouTube. You need to comment with your full name, first and last, and the word subscribed. We'll take the first 5. You will be entered to win our Royals Diamond Club giveaway. We'll tell you who the 5 are coming up on the other side of this break on 580 Sports Talk, live from the Kansas Drive to Zero studio. have our final 5 entries into our Royals Diamond Club ticket giveaway. We will announce the winner coming up at the top of the 5 o'clock hour. It'll be a random drawing from our 15 entrants today. Our 5 who got in, and I feel bad, somebody did get in the comments but did not follow the keyword instructions. So we did get our first 5 who followed the keyword instructions. Jason, Lorenzo, Matt, as well as Mike, and I want to make sure I got the other name right here too. 2 Mikes, in fact. I want to make sure I didn't double type here. But back-to-back Mikes both made it in. So, again, our final 5, Jason, Lorenzo, Matt, Mike, and Mike. So those are your final 5 who entered into our contest. Thank you, everybody who has entered today, who has subscribed on the YouTube, who has followed in, who has been a part of the show today. We will announce our winner of those Diamond Club seats coming up at the top of the 5 o'clock hour. We got to get you out to a game at the K. Yeah. I know the Nats aren't coming this year, but it's a fun time. It's a great park.
I might try to make it July or August.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know I am already planning at the very least. I'm hoping to get to a couple before year's end. I know I'll be there July 21st because it's MIAA day.
Oh, yeah.
And I will be there to rep the Ichabods. I know I will be there for that. But yeah, it's a great park, and you'll enjoy it, even if it's not in the Diamond Club.
Did you see Vance's comment? Because we were actually just talking about this off the air.
So he asked, what was the subscriber number on our YouTube when Dan left? I believe it was 542.
Yeah, it was either 540, 541, or 542. Somewhere in that time, that frame of 540 to 542.
So since Dan's son has been born, we've added on 50. You guys have added on 50. What the hell have I done? I sat here. I was on vacation for a few days. You
gave us the way to give out to get to 580. What we were doing at 580.
Yeah, I mean, I talk. I talk every day. I say a lot of words every day.
But if we got to 580 before, I don't know what would have happened. You're the one that made it happen for this giveaway.
Unprepared previously. No, we do appreciate all you guys who check it out, though. And as always, obviously, had a lot of fun with it today with the ticket giveaway. But obviously, there's all sorts of stuff on our YouTube channel. If you want to check out all of our Chiefs content, we do post-game videos for every Chiefs game. You want to go back and watch the stuff that Spencer and Dan did during the NFL draft, our Super Bowl recap, any of that, any of the shorts we have up there. It's like TikTok, but it's on YouTube. And it goes to Google before going overseas instead of your data going directly overseas when you watch those. I'm kidding, obviously. We don't get any of your data. We've got old recaps from KU, from K-State, Washburn info, all sorts of great stuff. It's on our YouTube channel. We would love for you guys to go and check that out. Again, 580 Sports Talk on YouTube. And we thank you guys for hanging out with us and for being a part of this fun giveaway here today.
I think it's only fair that somebody outside of the 3 of us picks the winner, right? We need somebody else in the station today to pick the winner.
Well, we're going to do it randomly.
Yeah.
I was just going to throw them all in a hat and pick one out.
I don't know. Like, I picked the winner last week for Bradley J. I walked in there and he's
I don't want to give him that kind of power.
No, I was thinking maybe Greg.
He didn't go to his head.
Can we give the power to Greg, maybe?
We'll find a way to do it. It is going. I would like to make this very clear so no one thinks any shady business is going on. We had 15 entries today. It will be a completely random drawing.
Yeah.
We're not going to say, Greg, here are 15 names. Pick the person you like the best. That's not what we're going to do. It's going to be a completely random drawing. Want to make sure no one feels like there's any funny business going on.
I don't know. If we had Bradley J, maybe there would be some funny business.
See, that's what I'm saying. Is he'd go to his head. He'd come in here and start talking about the Cowboys. I wouldn't be able to do it. Nah, we can't have that on the program. Already too much cowboy talk today. They've come up twice in the 3 o'clock hour they did.
I was called my mom texted me, by the way, a recap of what I had to do, what I wore last. Was it Tuesday or Wednesday? I can't remember which day it was.
Oh, which day? I think it was Wednesday because it wasn't Monday. And then Tuesday, he forgot to bring it. I think it was Wednesday.
She called me a traitor.
Ha!
And then I told her, I said it was a bit, like it was a thing to get, it was a ploy, right? It was a challenge. She goes, but the Cowboys, come on.
It's like there's an episode of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia where they find a Tony Romo jersey in one of their rooms. Like, I just love Tony Romo. Other than that, it's Go Birds. It's essentially what you were, except the Commanders instead. That's too funny. Anyone give you grief when you had to rock K-State stuff?
No, lucky me. I don't think enough of my people watch the show, or listen. So not yet anyway.
Got lucked out. Yeah, don't go back and watch the video. That is what Trenton is telling you right now. A real quick note here from the legislature. Normally something we don't get to too often, but the Kansas legislature, they held a hearing today. They're going to convene a special session tomorrow. They are working on a plan. Some members of our state legislature are drafting a plan that would finance up to 75% of a new set of stadiums, however many stadiums, to lure the Chiefs and the Royals to come over the state line from Missouri into Kansas using star bonds. You have heard a whole lot about this over the last couple of weeks, certainly over months and months and months now, just talking about the Royals specifically and their stadium issues. This is the writing of the absolutely phenomenal Jonathan Shorman from the Kansas City Star. He does such a great job covering our Kansas government. Kansas will finance up to 75% of the cost of new stadiums for the Chiefs and Royals, an amount that could total billions in bonds in an effort to attract the Missouri teams, according to a draft proposal. The legislature will consider that plan at a special session that begins Tuesday. The lawmakers will held a meeting on Monday. The proposed bill is not final and could be amended, but a draft of it was circulating within the Kansas Capitol on Monday. So this would use the star bonds option, which normally only allows financing up to 50%. So that would have to be changed during this special session. They would have to allow it to go for up to 75% of the cost of new stadiums. These bonds would also be paid back over the course of 30 years. I'm not going to get into all of the legal jargon here because, frankly, I am not qualified to get into some of the very nitty-gritty specifics of it. That's for us to learn from official government sources and our elected officials. But I can tell you certain things like local sales tax districts and whatnot, that will go toward paying back some of these 30-year bonds should this plan come to fruition. Additional money for this could come from excess lottery revenue. I don't know how much of that there is, as well as revenue from sports gambling. Which
that was where my question would be, because
Yeah.
I know you guys have told me there's just that revenue is just sitting somewhere.
Yeah, it's in a fund. I think it was 80% of it is just sitting in a fund for anything. It's not even really a rainy day fund. It came up when the bill was first passed for legalization of sports gambling in Kansas, that it could be used someday to lure teams over the border. Now, Governor Laura Kelly has straight up said that ain't going to do anything, but it's something. If you're talking about paying back 30 years worth of bonds costing billions and billions of dollars, okay, well, any dollar is going to help at that juncture.
Which is why they can fund 75% of it.
Yeah.
Because they have a lot of money in there.
Yeah, so they're trying to make these deals as sweet as possible to lure the Chiefs and the Royals. So for now, and Shorman writes this as well in his piece over at the Kansas City Star, he mentions that the legislature is split on this. There is a representative from Baldwin City, just south of Lawrence, for those who don't know, if you're not from here, like Spencer sitting across from me, who said, I'm not in favor of this. It's a handout for billionaires. There are others from other parts of the state, including here in Topeka, or representatives from our area, who have said this is a good thing. And it's not just Topeka, but Wichita and, Kansas City area and everywhere. The proponents have said this is a generational opportunity. This would be huge for the state, etc. I am I don't know. I'm torn either way. I mean, we don't live in that area, so it probably wouldn't affect us too terribly tax-wise. I do think there are some positives here. Jason on YouTube, he mentions, not going to lie, but would love to see the Royals come to Kansas, the Chiefs as well. The Legends area is perfect. That's just my opinion. That would be a great spot for it. And it would be awesome to have them here. I'm not sure if all of the funding that it would take to get them here would in the end be worth it. Our state's going to try. I guess that's sort of where I am. I don't even know what my official final opinion or stance on it is. I don't know that I'm endorsing it necessarily because, I agree with the legislator who mentioned in this piece from Jonathan Shorman that I think this is a handout for, billionaires, just giving them more money. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't feel super inclined to say, yeah, John Sherman, take more money from the state. Yeah, Clark Hunt, take more money from the state. I don't really love that in principle, but I can understand why you would. I have had people in my Twitter mentions every time this comes up saying, I don't care what it takes. I don't care if I have to pay more taxes. I don't care if we have to pay all these bonds back. Bring those teams across the state line.
Hey, maybe the Chiefs will get a better locker room out of it.
Yeah, maybe. That's what Clark Hunt's going to say. Yeah, that's how y'all are getting a better locker room. So go tell all of our fans that you want them to move. I'm going to say this right now, and I think this is going to be very controversial for some folks. Maybe some will agree with me. Legalize weed. You want to fund this? Go find a way to sell that. Go ask Colorado. That's worked out for them. And you know what? Go ask people from our state who have gone across the border to either Missouri or to Colorado and ask them how that's turned out. That's a lot of money if you want to pay that back. And I'm not trying to become, Mr. Go Green over here. Mostly I'm just making the point that if there are ways, if you're going to try to bring these teams over and you're looking at this bill, what it is going to cost to get that to happen, to build these stadiums, to move the teams, all the other infrastructure that's going to come along with it, you've got to be open to having some alternative revenue streams. That's all I'm saying. That, I think, is something that you need to consider if you're the state of Kansas. Is this going to get done in the end? I have my doubts, but Kansas is going to put on the full court press. Ironic that there's no basketball involved here, but you know what I mean. The state is going to do whatever it possibly can to move these teams over, and I'm sure the Chiefs and Royals will listen. I am certain the Chiefs and Royals are going to listen to that. We've got 1 hour left of 580 Sports Talk. We'll get to our headlines. Major news for one of the best athletes in recent years out of the city of Topeka, plus some thoughts on the Kansas City Royals. That's all coming up after the news in the 5 o'clock hour of 580 Sports Talk, live from the Kansas Drive to Zero studio. It is the final hour of 580 Sports Talk on this Monday afternoon. Thank you so much for hanging out with us live from the Kansas Drive to Zero studio. I am Brendan Dworzinski. That is Spencer Dupuis. On the other side of the glass, that is Trenton Craxner. Dan Lucero is off again today. He is on paternity leave. A big announcement to lead off this 5 o'clock hour. A round of applause for Tyler. He is the winner of our Royals Diamond Club ticket giveaway. A pair of Diamond Club seats coming Tyler's way for next Wednesday against the Marlins. Again, a big thank you to everyone who called in, who texted in, who commented on YouTube as well, who was a part of the show and a part of this giveaway today. We've got plenty more Royals tickets to give away over the course of this season. We'll have family 4-packs, we'll have lower level stuff, all sorts of tickets to give away before the year is out. As always, our trips to the Royals ticket window are brought to you by DM Injury Law. Have you or a loved one been in a car wreck? Contact DM Injury Law today and get the money you deserve. Car wreck? Remember, Mike's got this. So a big thanks to DM Injury Law and a big congratulations to Tyler for that pair of tickets to the Diamond Club coming up on Wednesday next week. In this final hour of the show today, we've got our 580 Sports Talk headlines. Plenty of them to get to here in just a moment. We also will get to some major news that deserves its own segment here. We were talking to two Topeka legends earlier in the show, Michael Wilhoite and Kyle Weems. How about another one? Nyjah Kennedy. Some major news for the National Softball Player of the Year, the Topeka High grad. We'll get to that later this hour, plus some notes on the Royals and some potential rehab appearances for a couple of key players coming up later this hour. And, of course, we're taking your texts. Top City Metal Supply text line number is 785-272-9429. And you can find us on YouTube. Y'all know how to find us on YouTube now. 580 Sports Talk. Real quick, if I may be serious with you for a moment, we have put a lot of work into the YouTube over the last almost 2 years now, going on about 20 months or so. And me specifically, I've put in a lot of work on the YouTube over the last couple of years. And I am very appreciative for all of you guys who have continued to subscribe, who have been a part of it, who have checked out all the stuff, watched our post-game videos with us, reacted to them, watched the show, whether it's every day, this was your first time doing it. Really do appreciate you guys for doing so. It means a lot. And I've put in a lot of work to make it look good. And I'm not saying that to make myself sound good. It's work, but I just appreciate you guys doing it. It's fun. We get to do stuff like this, give tickets away. So thank you for doing that. And again, we'll have plenty more Royals tickets and other stuff to give away over the course of this baseball season, both on 580 and, of course, on our YouTube channel as well. All right, Spencer, let's get to it. Our 580 Sports Talk headlines for today. First one for me. We are just over a month. In fact, Friday, Big Kev Camp Day. Yeah. We will be 1 month away from the start of training camp. The NFL season never ends. And I'm going to be honest with you. Is any team happier about the season starting training camp starting in just over a month than the Chiefs? We were talking about their offseason with Matt Verderame earlier. We always hear, we've talked about this with Matt before, from the end of mini camp until training camp is the scariest time of year for NFL teams because guys don't have to be in the building. They can go home. They're left to their own devices. They're going to go travel. They're going to see their buddies, sometimes maybe see some friends they shouldn't be hanging out with. And you get worried that guys are going to get in trouble. Well, the Chiefs have already gotten some guys in some trouble this offseason. So July 21st, a big day for the Chiefs, a big day for the NFL. That is when training camp will begin. It'll run July 21st through August 15th. And they're going back to St. Joe, Missouri Western State University in St. Joseph. That is where they will be holding all of the practices. So, some notes. If you plan to go visit training camp this year, all practices are free to the public unless otherwise noted. So one note on that, you have to reserve tickets in advance online to go. The Chiefs expect a lot of people. This is what the Chiefs have told us and have put out publicly. They expect a lot of people to be at Chiefs camp. Thus, you've got to reserve tickets. They are free most days, but you've got to reserve them in advance online. I believe that address is chiefs.com/training camp. That is where you can reserve your tickets once they become available. there will be 3 days, including Family Day, that Missouri Western is going to charge $5 per person. That's 3 of the days of camp. The Chiefs are also going to hold 2 days that are just for season ticket holders. So for the general public, non-season ticket holder, and if you want to go for free, there will still be 11, I believe it's 11 practices that you will be able to go attend at Missouri Western in St. Joe. Very excited for this, obviously. Excited that the NFL season will be here before we know it. And those are the details for the Chiefs. I am still holding out hope that someday the Chiefs decide they want to make a different drive for camp and they come to Topeka and use Washburn.
Or they don't make one at all and they practice in their stadium.
And just stay in Kansas City. More and more
a lot
teams,
of teams do that.
It used to be back in the day. I mean, I think especially even before I was born.
Oh yeah. I mean
everybody went. Everybody camped and went elsewhere.
Yeah, I mean the then Redskins went to Pennsylvania.
The Cowboys historically have gone to California.
Oxnard,
yep.
Every year they still do it.
Green Bay stays in Green Bay, but they use the college in town, not UWGB, but a small, or it's a town over in Des Peres or whatever.
Steelers go to Latrobe. College there.
The Bears, I think they stopped this, but they used to go to Bourbonnais, Illinois. They used to call it Bourbonnais. Fewer and fewer teams do it, though.
Fun fact, the Redskins then went to Richmond. They signed like an 8-year deal that ended because of COVID.
Oh.
And then they go like select days. They 2 years ago, they went twice to fulfill the end of their contract that ended because of COVID. So they could get their facilities rehabbed by a state bill. Shout out Dan Snyder.
What a piece of work. Jason on YouTube says, I remember when the Chiefs went to Wisconsin. Yeah, that was a real thing.
The Saints, I know, went to West Virginia. Greenbrier.
They went to the Greenbrier?
Yeah.
That's funny.
They held their training camp there for years. They stopped, and now random teams come and stay at the Greenbrier during the season. The 49ers did it a couple of years ago when they played like East Coast teams back-to-back weeks.
Interesting. Stayed at the Greenbrier. That's pretty nice.
Yeah.
Nice place to stay. Yeah. So those are your pieces of information you need to know for Chiefs training camp. And again, I'm double checking for you. For more information, go to chiefs.com/training camp. That is where you can get tickets, where you can buy parking. Yes, you got to buy parking. I'm sorry. They've got the full schedule as well and tailgate suite. I'm not sorry. I didn't do it. I didn't do anything wrong. Take it up with the Chiefs if you have beef with it. But St. Joe, starting on July 21st, training camp is back. And that means, by the way, even more important than the Chiefs actually being at camp, when the Chiefs return to camp, you know what that means? Chiefs training camp reports with Mitch Holthus.
Let's go.
Every day at 5:25.
Live,
yeah.
Oh, wow.
Every day. No, Mitch joins us on the show every day during camp.
I just assumed he sent us something.
He interviews someone during the day.
Yeah.
And then we hear that. But yeah, we chat with Mitch every day.
That's nice.
Dude, Mitch is the best.
Yeah.
He's on radio stations all over the place. He does insane amounts of prep work. If you've ever done play-by-play, and you have, Trent, I know you have, I've obviously done a bunch. Dan has done a ton in his career. If you want to be great at it, you've got to work really hard at the prep and getting ready for all of it. Mitch Holthus is great. And he would be great if he did like a third of the prep he does.
Yeah.
You hear it every week when we have him on during the season. The facts he has on every team the Chiefs play and the Chiefs themselves, they're just insane. And we can't wait to talk to Mitch again starting up at the back half of next month. What's your first headline today?
My first headline comes from the Chiefs again. Do we want to talk about Isaiah?
Yeah, let's get to this, dude.
All right. We talked a little bit about it with Matt Verderame, but Chiefs defensive lineman Isaiah Buggs arrested for domestic violence and burglary in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. He was held on $5,000 bond, later released from custody, according to Associated Press. The arrest comes less than 3 weeks after he turned himself into the same jail for misdemeanor animal cruelty charges that he was held on $600 bond for that, to 2 counts of cruelty of dogs in the second degree. Basically, his agent is saying he did nothing wrong, and this all has to do with people wanting him to close down his hookah bar in Tuscaloosa. So
I know we talked about this with Matt earlier.
I don't understand.
What's the point? He's a futures guy. Best case scenario for him is he's going to make the practice squad this year. Just cut him.
The only reason they're probably not cutting him is because of the fact that his agent denies that thinks that this is a scheme to get him arrested to closes. That's got to be it, right?
I guess, but man, what's the point? If you're the Chiefs and you've had this brutal offseason and everyone's making fun of how your guys are all getting in trouble and the weed arrest and the Rashee Rice thing, I mean, all of this, take the layup, man. Sometimes it is the right thing to do to just take the easy shot, take the easy two, Go for the single instead of the home run. Just do the easy thing, do the right thing. There's no need for this dude to be on the Chiefs anymore. No need. It's ridiculous.
He's not going to make the team anyway.
No! What are you preserving his roster spot for? I don't understand it all. I just do not get it. From the Chiefs to college football, former Kansas Jayhawks head coach, also notably former LSU head coach and former Oklahoma State head coach, Les Miles is suing his former employer, Louisiana State University, alleging that LSU's decision to vacate his wins from a punishment, a self-inflicted punishment from his tenure there, I got to read this whole quote. This is from Adam Rittenberg of ESPN. So former LSU coach Les Miles filed a lawsuit against LSU, alleging the school's decision to vacate the wins his teams attained cost him the chance for the College Football Hall of Fame's qualifications. News release called it, quote, an irrational and unfair self-inflicted punishment. Miles' lawsuit also lists the NCAA and the National Football Foundation, which manages the Hall of Fame, as defendants. His longtime agent, George Bass, said LSU, quote, promised us help in undoing this injustice and then went back on its word. As Dennis Dodd of CBS Sports, friend of the program, put it when writing about this on Twitter earlier today, Les Miles was eligible for the College Football Hall of Fame in November 2023 when he turned 70. As of right now, and that was before wins were taken away, none of his 3 Division I schools, Oklahoma State, LSU, or Kansas, is believed to have nominated him. You have to be nominated to make it into the College Football Hall of Fame. And as a coach, you need to have won exactly 60% of your games. Not rounded up, not 59.9 or better, 60%. Les Miles' career winning percentage is 596, 59.66 or 59.7 if you want to round up one decimal spot. That's not enough. One more win. And as Dennis Dodd puts it, Miles in his lawsuit says LSU deprived him of eligibility. Miles he said if he had gotten those 37 wins that were vacated at LSU, he would have been there. He was 3-18 at Kansas. If he had won one more game, if KU had gone 4-17 instead of 3-18 under Les Miles, he would still be eligible for the Hall of Fame.
That's crazy.
I am going to say this right now. Les Miles did the best thing Les Miles did for Kansas was to get the scholarship numbers fixed. Because when David Beatty was after Charlie Weiss's disaster, not even to talk about Turner Gill, after the Charlie Weiss disaster, David Beatty was never able to get the scholarship numbers up to a respectable level. And KU for years had scholarship numbers below that of FCS schools. The FCS minimum or maximum is 63. KU for years was well under that. At one point was allegedly in the 20s. Okay, allegedly. Les Miles helped get that up. His recruiting, even though not everybody stuck, his recruiting is what got KU back to scholarship respectability. He also recruited a lot of the guys who are still major contributors for KU, like Luke Grimm and Jalen Daniels. Obviously a big deal. That being said, I am not going to now or ever cry for Les Miles. And that was a very embarrassing stretch of time that Les and his cohort is, I don't even know what you would want to call him, his cohort, his buddy Jeff Long. And I'm not going to cry for either of them. Dennis Dodd also mentions on Twitter 2 errors by the plaintiffs in the Les Miles lawsuit. It lists the number of vacated wins by LSU as 2 different numbers. Also, some possible defamatory language saying the NFF is controlled by the NCAA. There is no affiliation between the 2 organizations. Good luck, Les. Good luck. I don't feel bad for him. I win more games. I say that facetiously. The requirement is kind of ridiculous because, like, one of the most important coaches in modern football history is Mike Leach. One of the most important ever. And his innovations and what he did. Mike Leach also, I believe his career winning percentage is 59.8 or 59.6. So he's not eligible for the Hall of Fame, which is crazy. Yeah. I understand you have to have standards, but guys, it's Mike Leach. Like, he's one of the greatest of all time. Les Miles won a national championship. He was a creep, but if you're talking about accolades and success, he played for another one. He won the SEC a few times. Then, yeah, in fact, he played for 3 national championships, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe it was just 2. Maybe I'm getting confused. Saban won one at LSU. I must just be thinking of 2. Either way, you can put the guy in on merits if you don't hit 60%. I think that's an arbitrary number that you probably need to make an adjustment. If you're keeping Mike Leach out, you're doing something wrong. Regarding Les Miles, real quick here, our guy Jayhawker on YouTube, he mentions Miles did bring in, again, a lot of these guys who are still making an impact for KU. Daniels, Devin Neal, Lawrence Arnold, Quentin Skinner, Luke Grant. I mean, all the guys who are contributing right now on offense. But again, he was a creep, and I'm not going to get into the rumors right now, but they're not hard to find about his other, cognitive abilities while he was at KU, and I'll just leave it at that. So I'm not crying for him, but it is wild to see Les Miles is suing LSU. Did not expect to see that headline today.
Yeah, that was a wild headline. My next headline comes to you from the world of golf. Bryson DeChambeau wins his 2nd U.S. Open yesterday. He had a tough final round as he shot a +1, but he was still able to win. He didn't have the best shot off the tee. It was a very bad shot. Then he went in the bunker, and then he got out of the bunker, and he set himself up for par on the final hole to win it because Rory McIlroy just completely collapsed on the final few holes. And then as Rory was watching in the clubhouse, not even like 10 minutes after it ended, he stormed out in his SUV.
So embarrassing. Yeah. Rory took to Twitter today.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Yeah, so he released a statement. He went to the Notes app. Never good. You never want to go to the Notes app. Yesterday was a tough day, probably the toughest I've had in my nearly 17 years as a pro golfer. Firstly, I'd like to congratulate Bryson. He's a worthy champion and exactly what professional golf needs right now. I think we can all agree on that. Isn't he in Live? I thought Rory McIlroy hated Live Golf. As I reflect on my week, I'll rue a few things over the course of the tournament, mostly the 2 missed putts on 16 and 18 on the final day. But as I always try to do, I'll look at the positives of the week that far outweigh the negatives. As I said at the start of the tournament, I feel closer to winning my next major than I ever have. The one word that I would describe my career as is resilient. That's not the word I would use. I've shown my resilience over and over again in the last 17 years, and I will again. I'm going to take a few weeks away from the game to process everything and build myself back up for my defense of the Genesis Scottish Open and the Open at Royal Troon. See you in Scotland.
What is he even missing?
I don't even know what he's missing. The Colonial, is that what he's missing next? I don't know. Nothing that's major. He's going to play at the Open, the British Open, if you will. Look, man, I don't know. I know golf's hard. I understand. I'm not a golf guy. I did not watch a single hole.
He's missing I don't even know if he would go. The Travelers Championship, Rocket Mortgage Classic, the John Deere Classic.
Oh, man. Oh, no. Yeah. So what? He's taking vacation. He's getting some rest. Not a big deal. Look, I understand that golf is hard. I understand that you can get the yips. I understand that there's a lot of pressure. It's a very lonely sport when everyone's watching you and you're alone there on the green. I get it. Don't blow a 3-foot putt. Well, I saw the stat on Twitter. He had hit 496 consecutive putts from within 3 feet until yesterday. Hit the putt.
Exactly.
Also, stick around for your interview. Why are you bailing out early? That is so lame. The worst. Really. That bothers me. That bothers me quite a bit. One more quick headline for me. Let's stick with a local headline here. Some news from Washburn women's basketball. The Ichabods announced a new assistant coach today. Head coach Laura Westling announcing that a former player of hers at Western Colorado, Katie Dalton, will be joining the coaching staff beginning this past weekend. She was a former student athlete at Western Colorado, and she played for Laura Westling while Laura was out there in Gunnison. Coach Westling saying, quote, "I am so excited to welcome Katie Dalton to our program. She possesses a gift in developing sincere and sustainable relationships with nearly everyone she meets. She is a fierce competitor with a great basketball mind, and she understands the work ethic it takes to be successful in this league. I had the privilege of coaching Katie at Western Colorado, and I could not be more proud to welcome her into our Washburn family." Very cool. She was a two-time second-team All-RMAC selection at Western Colorado, two-time academic honor roll in the RMAC, 96 career games, 91 starts as well. Also ran their basketball camps while she was a student there. Really nice ad. Know that Monique Scott, who was on Laura Westling's staff this past season, she is moving on as she finishes her doctorate. So congratulations to Coach Scott, and a warm welcome to Topeka for Coach Dalton. Any other headlines for you today?
Kind of push this into one headline. Charles Barkley over the weekend, they were on the NBA TV, I think it was.
Yep. Yeah, he does NBA TV stuff once Turner's done.
He said he made an announcement out of random. I think he had told the guys, I'm assuming. But he said he was going to retire from broadcasting after next season when the TNT deal is set to end. I don't know if that was a reactionary thing to just not getting any answers and not having them match the offer at the time. But I believe TNT then put out a statement, said we're going to work with Barkley and try to see if he can still stick around or something. And I don't know, a lot going on there. But then it came out today, I believe yesterday, from the New York Times, which is also, or is it
The Athletic? Yeah.
The Athletic. That Warner Brothers Discovery, also TNT Sports, is going to try and match Amazon's NBA package, which is part of their right to refusal. I believe they have a right to match it.
I think if they keep it, Chuck will stay.
Yeah, I do as well.
That would be my guess. But I also respect Chuck if he says it's a good thing and I'm not going to stick around until it's not a good thing anymore. I respect that because too many people do not have that ability.
Exactly.
They do not have the ability or the capability to say, I'm going to retire on top. I'm going to get while the getting is good. So I do respect Chuck in that regard. All right, before we round out our 580 Sports Talk headlines for today, cue the sound. Let's get to our Monday playoff roundup.
It's time for the 580 Sports Talk playoff roundup. Here, I just totally messed that up on 580 Sports Talk.
What the heck happened?
I was over here pressing the playoff roundup thing like 4 times, and I think it just like backlogged on me for some reason.
Mondays happen sometimes. It is what it is. I appreciate you, Spencer, for doing it live.
In there, even though it was wrong.
We'll do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live. All right, from the weekend, neither the NBA Finals nor the Stanley Cup Final ended in a sweep. In fact, we had a couple of blowouts this weekend. Friday night, the Mavericks pummeled the Celtics to stay alive, a 38-point win, which means they play again tonight at 7:30. It means we're going to get history one way or the other in this series. No team has ever come back from a 3-0 deficit to win the NBA Finals. It has never happened before. But no team has ever won the NBA Finals after losing a game in the series by 38 or more points.
That's wild. Also, did you see that the Mavericks now have a better point differential in the finals?
Do they really?
Yeah.
That's funny. I mean, the Celtics were never in it.
No.
Like 5 minutes into the game, it was over. I was out to dinner with my wife. We went to Lawrence and hit up one of our favorite restaurants for dinner Friday night, and I just briefly checked the score on our way out of the restaurant, and I thought, what the hell? Where did this come from?
That's what I looked down at.
Where was this for the first 3 games, Mavericks? Game 5 tonight. Who you got? Back in Boston.
I got the Celtics. They're going to win it.
I do too. Gentlemen sweep. I'm on Boston tonight. As for the Stanley Cup Final, the Oilers stayed alive. They had a blowout win. Again, where has this been from both the Oilers and from the Mavericks. Edmonton pummeled the Panthers 8-1.
Yeah, I'm gonna make this joke again because I think I don't know if I did it on the air or not, but their number one fan was in fact in attendance.
Yes. Wait, was she really?
Yeah,
Oh,
she came out of hiding.
You mentioned that on Friday. Oh,
Yeah.
my God. I hope they got her to Florida. I hope she's on the way to Sunrise. Oh, my gosh. They're going to play Game 5 of their series coming up tomorrow. So we will get you ready for that one on tomorrow's edition of the Playoff Roundup. That does it, though, for today's Roundup, and that does it for our 580 Sports Talk headlines. When we come back, after this quick message from our sponsors, after we pay the bills, some major news for the best athlete out of the city in recent memory. I think that's certainly true. Plus, a good weekend for KU football as well. That's coming up on 580 Sports Talk live from the Kansas Drive to Zero studio. Brendan, Spencer, and Trenton with you on 580 Sports Talk this afternoon. Dan's on paternity leave. Thanks for hanging out with us. Whether you're listening on 580 AM, 104.9 FM, online at 580WIBW.com, or on the 580 Sports Talk YouTube channel, we appreciate you being a part of the show today as we come to you live from the Kansas Drive to Zero studio. Big weekend for KU football. Jayhawks landed a bunch of recruits this weekend, including one local player, Brandon Schmelsley, who is from Axtell, state champion from Axtell, in fact. Really good weekend. KU nearly doubled its recruiting class this weekend. They had 6 for next year. They added 5 more this weekend. The highest ranked of the group, Garrett Martin, who is an edge rusher from Scottsdale, Arizona. Adrian Holly's an edge rusher from Indiana. Kenyon Rivera, linebacker from Georgia. Where are the others here? Josiah Hammond, who is from Oklahoma, defensive lineman. And then again, Brandon Schmelsley from Axtell. Hell of an athlete. Plays 3 different positions for the Eagles. State champion, as I mentioned. Cool to get a local kid in. And also a big-time transfer, Bryce Foster, who is the center for Texas A&M the last couple of years. He was down to KU and Oregon. He's a big track athlete. I guess his first love is track and field. I think he's a thrower, if I'm not mistaken. And he's going to, as far as I'm aware, throw while he's at KU. And he's also going to be on the football team and is likely going to start at center for the Jayhawks, which is awesome. That's great get for KU. Really good weekend.
Big get.
Lance Leipold's incredible, man. He talking about this Les Miles lawsuit and how bleak things were when he was at KU. Man, Lance Leipold's incredible. And his staff, and it's so nice to be respectable. Even if KU doesn't end up being as good as we think KU can be this season, it's just nice to be a respectable bowl quality team every year. And I'm not trying to do the moral victory thing, but man, I saw some absolute garbage football for a really, really, really long time. And I'm glad it's not that way anymore. And I'm glad that they're getting some local products into the building too, because that's important. When you're a Kansas flagship school, you should have Kansas kids. I think there's at least some importance to that. So a big weekend for KU. An athlete from the city who's a current college athlete with some big news over the weekend, Nyjah Kennedy from Stanford. Last year, she was the National Fast Pitch Softball Freshman of the Year. This year, she is the National Softball Player of the Year. Not just freshmen, not just sophomores, any position anywhere in the country, #1 in the nation. The Athletic wrote a profile on her in which they said she could be the Caitlin Clark of softball. She is a big deal. She is a star. And reportedly, this has been reported, originally it sort of leaked out on Twitter, but a lot of the TV folks in town at both Channel 13 and KSNT have reported it as well. Nyjah Kennedy is going to enter the transfer portal, and that is massive. We have heard, and I'm not breaking any news to anyone, we talked to Nyjah last year going into the College World Series after she had been named Freshman of the Year, and she was telling us all about her season. She loves, or at least loved, Stanford. Now, I mean, I have not talked to Nyjah in a long time, but I know how much she loved that Stanford program. You heard on these very airwaves last year her talk about how much she loved the program, felt at home, loved the coaches, loved the team there, etc. So for this to be happening, I don't know what would have gone on at Stanford. I don't know if it's an NIL thing. I don't know if she wants to be closer to home. I have no idea. Yeah. I'm not going to make any assumptions because I've not spoken to her.
Not to speculate anymore, but obviously the Pac-12 is dead. The Pac-12 has come to an end, and their conference games will now be on the East Coast.
Throws a wrinkle into things, obviously. I have no idea why she ended up making the choice. This is huge, though. Like, can you imagine?
She got her picking from wherever she wants to go.
I'm trying to think of a comparison. I was going to go with Caleb Williams transferring from OU to USC, but even that was more obvious because Lincoln Riley left, and you knew he was going to follow Lincoln Riley. Like, this is Hunter Dickinson going from Michigan to KU was huge. That was a big deal. This is relative to the size of the sport, like magnitudes bigger. This is like if Zach Edey transferred out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Like, that's what this feels like. Like, oh my God, really? And whoever gets her is going to be just, they should be favorites to make it to the College World Series next year.
They'll automatically be College World Series favorites.
I know KU fans because Kansas is the Well, there are 2 D1 softball teams in the state, but Kansas is obviously the predominant one over Wichita State, although the Shocks had a good year this year. A lot of KU fans are thinking, well, she's from right down the road. She went to Topeka High. She is from the capital city. Is KU going to be in the mix? KU could use some pitching help. Offense is pretty good.
And they got a lot of local Topekans, too.
Yes.
That's not the word, but
Topekan. Yeah,
Topekans.
close.
They got some Washburn rural players.
Yeah, love to recruit the city of Topeka. KU does. You could reserve in the Booth Hall of Athletics right now. You could reserve a spot for an entire display for Nyjah Kennedy if she was going to come to KU. Do it right now. I will go and I will do it myself. I would put it at like a less than 1% chance of that happening. Not because Nyjah has any bad feelings toward KU. I mean, I don't know what she feels about the program. My guess is Oklahoma. I do not. That is not a report. I have no inside information. I haven't even read any rumors about it. I have no idea. I'm just guessing Oklahoma
Or Texas.
Texas would also make sense.
Like
and if
those two to me make the most sense.
would be much closer to home. Not nearly as much travel for games. Good program, really good program. They played each other for the national title. So I would not be surprised. I did see, though, so much of the NIL stuff bothers me. And I don't mean the fact that players can make money on it. That is exactly the opposite of what I mean. In fact, the debates and the discussion and the way people treat it is the problem I have with it, to be honest. So when you look at what NIL has done for players and the transfer portal has done for players, and the fact that it gives you a chance to find a better situation or make some extra cash or whatever, the good, I think, far outweighs the bad. I understand the bad if you say, well, man, I don't ever know who's on my favorite team anymore. I never get to see this. I have a problem with that. I want to be able to see the same players for 4 years. I understand where that is coming from. I know. But by the same token, I'm not going to tell the players that they can't make a better situation for themselves. Like, if Nyjah Kennedy can go out and make $2 million, Nyjah Kennedy, in my opinion, should go make $2 million.
Exactly.
Like, that's incredible.
She is the best player in college softball.
And a brand, and people want to tune in to watch her. I just can't. I saw somebody, a former professional softball player, who posted on Twitter this weekend. I got to go find this tweet because it really bothered me. Yeah, so this is from Gwen Svekis, who is an alumna, yeah, I got it right the first time, of Oregon, and plays in the Athletes Unlimited Pro Softball competition. I don't even know if it's a league, but competition.
I think it's a league now.
Is it a full league? It's kind of a weird organization. But anyway, she tweeted in regards to reports that Nyjah was going to enter the transfer portal. Terrible. Take me back to a time before NIL when no one would sacrifice a Stanford education for a buck. She goes on to say, I'd like to clarify that I adore Nyjah Kennedy. My comment is not meant to drag her, but drag the system. I am a fan of the intent of NIL. I am not a fan of the reality of it.
Yeah.
The first reply to her on Twitter, by the way, is, what is the Stanford education except for the ability to make bucks, which is very funny. Also, if you were to say to me that an athlete was foregoing an elite education to make a buck, that to me is like you're going from Stanford to Middle Tennessee and you're going to make $100. Like, that's doing it for a buck. You'll do anything to make a little cash. Yeah. We might be talking, and I don't know this. I am assuming, I am speculating. We might be talking about life-changing money in a sport where I guarantee you, Gwen Svekis of Athletes Unlimited Pro Softball, you ain't making that money playing in that league. I wish you did. I wish you could. You ain't. So don't tell me that you're sacrificing a Stanford education for a buck. Give me a break. Give me a break. We're talking life-changing money potentially here. If there is even NIL involved, we don't even know that it is. We have no idea. This person's just making an assumption about it. And again, you have no idea what is going on behind the scenes. Maybe, and this goes for Nyjah, this goes for any athlete. Maybe there's a falling out with a coach. Maybe their spot is no longer available. Now I'm going to guess the National Player of the Year is not going to lose your spot on the roster. Probably not the case. But for athletes in general, we don't know what's going on behind the scenes. So to say, oh, you're giving up your education for $1, maybe she wants to go to Harvard and she's going to get an even better education. You have no idea what you're talking about. That's why it makes me so frustrated when we have these NILs ruining the game talks. NIL and the portal specifically, they're always tied together. Giving athletes and kids a chance to make a better situation for themselves is not a problem. Chasing just dollar signs, that's one thing. Making everything a transactional relationship, there's a discussion to be had. This could be the best thing that ever happened to her, and you're trying to call it terrible. Give me a break.
Also, if you go to her bio on Stanford, which has a lot of accolades, obviously, it says, now I'm trying to find it, but I knew it said at some point, and if you Google it, it shows it on Google, that her major is undeclared. So maybe she's decided whatever's there is not something she wants to major in, because clearly softball is not like basketball. It's not like football.
I'm going to tell you this too, and this is me editorializing because I've been lucky enough to interview Nyjah a couple of times over the years. Nyjah Kennedy is a very smart woman, and whatever she wants to do in sports or otherwise, she's going to be a success at. And I hate well, you're giving up the education. Give me a break. It's jealousy. That's what it is. It is jealousy more than anything else. Coming up next, we have to get to a quick break. Then, little Royals baseball. Maybe some good news on Michael Wacha. We'll tell you next on 580 Sports Talk. Finishing up 580 Sports Talk today. No Royals baseball tonight because, well, they got the day off. They'll face Oakland the next 3 days out in the Bay. Really quickly, some possibly good news. Michael Wacha was scheduled today for a rehab outing in the Arizona Complex League. There's a chance he could rejoin the team for the series against the Rangers. That would be a welcome sight. Very good to get him back in there. We were chatting a little bit earlier. Why not have him go to Double or Triple A to face, you know, some better batters first? I think a guy who's been around long enough, like Michael Wacha, who's got the stuff Michael Wacha has, he's probably fine just getting a training start in. That would be my guess anyway. He'll be all right.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it.
And if you get him back and stabilize a pitching rotation that has been more up and down this month than they had been in the first 2 months of the season, I think that'll be a positive.
Yeah, I mean, you had to throw Daniel Lynch, and then you had to throw an opener for Daniel Lynch, and not great.
I think, well, let me ask you guys this. We're short on time here, so I'll go quickly. Trent, I'll go to you first. This next stretch, the next, 41 of 51 that they have against teams under 500?
Yeah, 41 of 54. As of right now, most of those teams are middling around 500, but they play some of the worst teams in baseball.
All right, give me a number. Give me a win total in those 54 games. What would be an acceptable win total?
If you go 30-24, that would put you at 71-56
Which is crazy.
Let's do the math here. That'd be 127 games, 35 games
left.
Yeah. So you'd be 15 games over with 35 to go. And you have to be in a playoff spot, I'd have to think.
Yeah, I think that's a good number. Right around 30, is that where you put it?
Yeah, and that just even puts everything else into perspective of where they've come.
Yeah.
How far they've come.
No kidding. No kidding. We have one final timeout to get to you. We'll come on back after that, wrap up 580 Sports Talk with the final word live from the Kansas Drive to Zero studio. All right, Spencer, let's wrap up 580 Sports Talk. It's time for the final word.
Yeah, I told you off the air what I just saw earlier on Twitter. One of the best weeks for content is back this week, and that is Tight End University. Not sure where it's being held, but the content that comes out of Tight End University is always the best. And I was like, made sense it'd be right now because it's the break between mini camp and training camp. So I'm excited to see what funny things we see of Kelsey and some other of those guys coming out here in the next week.
Final word for me today is that the Kansas City Royals have not had the best week of their season. In fact, you could argue it was one of their worst weeks. They went 2-5 in their last 7 games, something we are not used to seeing with this Royals team. But they played 2 really good teams. You get a day off to recharge today. Now you go into a stretch with a lot of winnable games. Even if some of those teams that are hovering around 500 go over the 500 mark here in the next couple of days, next couple of weeks, those are still the kind of teams the Royals should be beating at this point. And I think if you go 30-24 in your next 54 games, the next third of the season, you are in a much better spot than you've been in recent years. But that is what you should be doing if you're this Royals team. You're not as good as the Dodgers. You're not as good as the Yankees, maybe even the Orioles, even the Guardians in your own division. But you're a better team. You're an above 500 team. You got a chance to play like it, and I hope they're able to take advantage of that situation. Want to thank everyone again who participated in our Royals Diamond Club ticket giveaway today. We will have plenty more Royals tickets to give away throughout the season, courtesy of our friends at DM Injury Law. A lot of folks who subscribe to the YouTube who have had fun with us today. We really, really do appreciate you guys. Tomorrow on the show, Jayhawk Weekly with Michael Swain. Our good pal Shahan Jayaraja of CBS College Football Coverage will join us for the first time this offseason as well. That's tomorrow from 2 until 6. For Trenton, for Spencer, I'm Brendan. We'll talk to you tomorrow on 580 Sports Talk.